about this, but the Australians are well ahead in their use of legislation. What do you think about this issue? Well,
I think you're right. I mean, I've got 3 young children, and I'm really concerned about... I mean, they're too young to be on social media, but I'm really concerned about what lies ahead for them. I'm not sure I support what Australia's doing, not because I don't think it's a good idea to ensure that age verification is right. I'm just not sure that the age 16 is appropriate. But that's progress. If we effectively, as I do, accept the point that we need some sort of control, then we can move to a proper debate about whether that's 16, 14, 13, whatever it may be. And, of course, there are age restrictions on things like Facebook. I think, from memory, it is 13.
Yeah, but it's a tick box.
But it's a tick box, so all you can do is you can just knock. If you're 11 years old, you can just predate your date of birth by 2 years, and you can get on. I think what Australia is proposing is interesting because it will stop young people, maybe without their parents' knowledge, short-circuiting the system because they're going to be asking for proper age verification and ID. That's definitely something we should do in the UK because it's enforcing the existing law. Query, is 16 the right age, Miriam?
I completely agree with it. It's something I actually said should have been done before. And I think what is good about it is that for a long time, a lot of governments have been saying that the actual social media companies should take more responsibility, but they're not going to because it hurts their bottom line. The most voracious users are younger users. So they will pledge that, oh, I'll put the tick box in, but the kid is the one who's going to actually tick the box. So doing something like this is saying that, OK, we will put in legislation that damages your bottom line. And I think it will force the hand because they've said it's only 12 months and they will reevaluate it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon. It's 12 o'clock on Saturday, the 21st of December, and a Merry Christmas. Hope you're having a wonderful festive Saturday out there. This is The Weekend on GB News. Now, it has been confirmed that 5 people, including a child, have died after a car drove into crowds at a German Christmas market. City officials say over 200 people were injured, and the suspect, a 50-year-old Saudi doctor, is believed to have acted alone. We'll have the latest with our home and security editor, Mark White, on that one. And a grey area for Sir Keir Starmer, yes, another one, as he appoints 30 new Labour peerages in an attempt to rebalance the House of Lords. It comes despite his pledge upon becoming Labour leader to abolish the House in favour of a newly elected second chamber. We'll have all the reaction on that story. And today is set to be the busiest shopping day of the year as shoppers take to the high streets for last-minute Christmas bargains. Have you, yes, you out there, have you brought your presents yet? And remember, you can take GB News on your radio with you if you are popping out. I'd stay where you are, though. I'm Dawn Neeson, and The Weekend starts right here and now. People, let me have some tinsel on that. The weekend, it's a field, it's lovely. I know it's lovely and it's relaxing, but give me some blooming tinsel. It's Christmas, as you might have noticed. I don't dress like this all year round, honestly. And this show, by the way, is nothing without you and your views, whether you're wearing sparkles or a Christmas onesie or whatever you're wearing today. Let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're discussing today by joining us at gbnews.com/your say and joining the conversation. Easy. What you want to talk about? It's Christmas. Come on, have a chat. This is what we're here for, keeping you company. And indeed, keeping me company, actually live here in the studio, is Labour Party activist Chris Worrell and broadcaster Mike Parry. Thank you very much, gentlemen. You didn't get the sparkles memo. In fact, you are twinning. That is particularly worrying.
Not really. I mean, Christmas is a great time to sparkle, but you sparkle all the time, Dawn.
Thank you very much, darling. You can come back. But before we get stuck into today's stories, here is someone who does indeed sparkle all year round. It's the lovely Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you from the newsroom, just coming up to 3 minutes past 12. Let's start with the latest from Germany, where the Chancellor Olaf Scholz has said the country will stand united. That's as officials have now confirmed at least 5 fatalities, including a child. That's after a major car ramming at a Christmas market. More than 200 are also injured, many seriously, after a driver drove an SUV into crowds at that Christmas market in eastern Germany. The suspect, a 50-year-old Saudi doctor, has been arrested, but officials say he's not known as an extremist. Keir Starmer has called the attack horrific and expressed solidarity with Germany, while Foreign Secretary David Lammy has offered support to his counterpart. The tragedy yesterday comes 8 years after a similar attack in Berlin, where 13 people were killed. Well, our Home and Security editor Mark White has been looking into the lone attacker believed to be behind the incident in Magdeburg.
He is a 50-year-old, originally from Saudi Arabia, who arrived in Germany in 2006 and claimed asylum, having fled Saudi Arabia, wanted by the Saudi authorities over allegations.
Apologies there. We'll try and get that clip to play a little bit later on for you. Well, in other news, time is running out for pensioners to claim pension credit and secure their winter fuel payment for 2024 to 25, with the deadline just hours away. Online applications close just before midnight tonight, and phone lines will be open until 3:15 this afternoon. Around 760,000 pensioners could miss out, with the benefit topping up weekly incomes and unlocking extra support. The change, announced, of course, by Chancellor Rachel Reeves in her budget, means winter fuel payments now go only to those on means-tested benefits, slashing recipients from almost 11.5 million to now just 1.5 million pensioners. Scrap staff parking charges. That is the call from unions today, as new research has revealed 1 in 4 NHS trusts in England have raised fees for patients, for staff or both in the last 2 years. Patients' charities say the charges are unfairly penalising unwell people, while NHS leaders argue financial pressures leave trusts little choice but to charge. The rises, often targeting city centre hospitals, have seen higher earners pay more, while NHS staff collectively spent over £70 million on parking last year alone. Crowds across the Northern Hemisphere have been gathering from early on this morning to get a sight of the winter solstice, marking the shortest day and the longest night of the year. In London, there's just under 8 hours of daylight today. Sunrise was at 4 minutes past 8 and sunset in less than 4 hours' time, 3:53 p.m. and even less daylight for people further north. The solstice signals the return of longer days and is celebrated worldwide, from pagan Yule festivals to modern traditions inspired by ancient customs. Events at Stonehenge, though, are among the most iconic, drawing thousands to witness the so-called rebirth of the sun. And cash tops the list for Christmas gifts for young adults, a new survey has revealed. Nearly half of 16 to 24-year-olds say they prefer cash, with 40% happy to receive a voucher, 36% open to a bank transfer. A third say they would even like a direct payment into their savings account, while a fifth would still welcome a cheque. But across all age groups, gift cards and vouchers remain the most popular choice for financial gifts. And as Christmas falls midweek this year, experts say cash machines will be even busier, with customers set to withdraw around £1.5 billion in just 1 week. And that's just for my Christmas presents. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you very much, Sam. You know what? I'd like a present I can unwrap, like a bottle of bubbly or something like that. You know, money in an envelope. It's a bit, I don't know, it's like you're being bribed almost, isn't it? In any case, let's get straight into today's story, shall we? We begin this afternoon with the news that, the horrific news from Germany. We have to talk about it, though, because it's just... Again, isn't it? It's happening again. 5 people have been killed and over 200 injured after a car drove into crowds at a German Christmas market last night. The suspected attacker is arrested at the scene, is believed to be a 50-year-old doctor from Saudi Arabia. Images and videos circulating online, far too disturbing to air, certainly on a festive Saturday like today, show a car being driven at high speed into the Christmas market and the vehicle appearing not to slow down. Joining me now is a GB News Home and Security editor, Mark White, to bring us up to date on this story. Mark, this obviously happened last night when the Christmas market was full of families and children, and you see the pictures. It really is eyes full of tinsel and fire. and then this horror happens. Can you bring us up to date in what's been happening this morning?
Yeah, well, of course, Christmas market's such an integral part of German tradition. We have Christmas markets in the UK as well, but of course, they're often described as German markets because that's where the tradition is just so treasured. And in Germany, you will see many hundreds of people out packing those Christmas markets at this time of year. It's a crowded place, and as such, it's always a potential weak spot and a target for those that would seek to do harm. And that is indeed what happened last night, with the German authorities very clear in saying this was a deliberate ramming attack, with this vehicle smashing into that Christmas market just after 7 o'clock local time here in the UK. Somehow that vehicle got through the vehicle mitigation barriers that they have at this market and many other markets in Germany and indeed around Europe, including the UK, ever since we saw basically very significant vehicle ramming attacks under the terror group ISIS. Those vehicle mitigation barriers were brought into effect right across countries in Europe, and they were there at this market in Magdeburg. Somehow this vehicle was able to get through a gap in the barriers and carry out this horrific attack with this driver behind the wheel. In terms of what we know about him, a 50-year-old man originally from Saudi Arabia. He came to Germany in 2006 and was eventually granted asylum in 2016. He's a doctor who worked at a hospital just 26 miles from Magdeburg, where the attack took place. What the motivation was, what twisted logic there was for this terrible event last night, the German authorities haven't quite cracked that as yet. There are conflicting reports about what his motivation might have been. That will have to come out in the fullness of time. But absolutely horrific, especially to see the toll of dead and injured continue to rise. The number of dead, well, that's risen to 5, but the number of injured has increased. It's almost tripled, really, from 68 last night that we were reporting to more than 200 today. And Olaf Scholz, the German Chancellor, touring that scene today, said he was particularly concerned for around 40 people who are very seriously hurt. And of course, the real concern is that death toll may continue to rise, Dawn.
Yeah. And Mark, this isn't the first time we've had attacks on Christmas markets, is it?
No, indeed. I was in Berlin in 2016 reporting on the last very significant attack on a Christmas market when a Tunisian asylum seeker hijacked a lorry and smashed that into a Christmas market in the centre of Berlin, killing 12 people and injuring 56 others. That was linked to the coalition efforts to dismantle the Islamic State terror group at that time. But in the last year or two, Germany has suffered very significant terrorist attacks, in particular knife attacks on individuals in crowded places as well. So there is a real problem here. As I say, we need to get to the bottom of what the exact motivation was behind this particular attack, but the German authorities are in no doubt it was a targeted, it was a specific vehicle ramming attack. So whatever the underlying motivation at the end of the day, it's vulnerable people in crowded places, especially some of society's most vulnerable, young people in family groups gathering, crowding in their hundreds to this market, as they do at Christmas markets right across the country. And you'll not be surprised to learn, Dawn, that this particular market in Magdeburg won't reopen now over Christmas. That said, it's being dismantled. And elsewhere in Germany, indeed right across Europe, security measures at other Christmas markets and crowded places is being reviewed.
Thank you very much. That's Home and Security Editor Mark White bringing us up to date on the horrific attack in Germany. Mark will be coming back to us throughout the programme if we have any updates on that story. What can you say? It's just horrible, isn't it? No one needs that at any time of year, but at this time of year it feels even worse. Joining me today is Labour Party activist Chris Worrell and broadcaster Mike Parry. Gentlemen, unfortunately, on this festive Saturday, we have to start off on yet another attack on families trying to enjoy what should be the most wonderful time of the year. And you can see live pictures on your screen now of the crowds in Germany laying flowers at the scene. As we see all too often now, don't we, with people just standing around in silence, just stunned, and laying flowers for those that have lost their lives, and many still seriously injured in hospital. Mike, it sounds awful. So what do you make of this? But, I mean, what else can I ask? I mean, it's...
Yeah, of course. The movement of people around the world is always going to cause tensions because a community which is suddenly, you know, overtaken by people who are not of that community, you get different sort of reactions. We thought we'd got this sorted, the car attack, because we had two in London on two bridges, London Bridge and Westminster Bridge, and every time the terrorists adopted... Do you remember the one in France when they actually hijacked a lorry?
Yes,
drove that along the we thought we'd got rid of it, and then all of a sudden they come up again. What is particularly disturbing about this attack is the motive, because it looks like the guy who is allegedly responsible, who's been in Germany since 2006, did this as a protest against his adopted country, Germany, not clamping down hard enough on Islamic fanaticism.
We don't...
Well, that's a very strange way to do it, isn't it? I know the German government are not clamping down on it. I think I'll kill a few Germans just to make my point.
It is very strange. This is a speculation online. We don't know the exact reasoning yet. We know from social media posts that the alleged driver of the car who has been arrested has posted, but we don't know the ins and outs of it yet, so it's probably best not to speculate too much.
No, it's not. But what I'm saying is no other motive has been put forward. Do you see what I mean?
Don't know.
And so all we know at the moment is what we can pick up on social media, and of course the intelligence experts will now be putting all this together and thinking, crikey, this is another avenue we didn't know we were going to go down, or something else we've got to cope with.
Indeed. What do you make of it, Chris?
Well, you know, it's obviously tragic. You know, a toddler killed just before Christmas is going to break anyone's heart. I think the points Mike raises are, you know, are relevant because Der Spiegel has reported that, you know, this individual who's allegedly been the perpetrator has been, you know, watching and sharing views of Tommy Robinson and others, which, again, it's a bit complicated and the German authorities really have to bottom this out. But, you know, it just goes to show that there's, you know, a lot of misinformation out there.
Yes.
And anything that leads to people killing children before Christmas is disgusting.
Yeah.
That's something everyone can agree on at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, he has said the reviews of his social media from Der Spiegel and Independent have shown that he's been upset with some sort of exploitation of Saudi female refugees who've been exploited into sex trafficking, and the German authorities allegedly have not picked up on that. So, again, I imagine it will come out in the wash, but that's what's been...
But I also find the pictures at the end of this horrific incident very hard to comprehend. He gets out of the car, the alleged attacker. He literally, the police say, get down. He gets down. He was as calm as if he'd, you know, just come off a football field or something. It was quite remarkable.
Yeah, we will find out, and if we have any more breaking news, information on that, we will bring you up to date throughout the afternoon. Now we move back over here and to Sue Gray, yes, the civil servant, remember? She was the one who investigated Partygate and went on to become Sir Keir Starmer's chief of staff, all within the space of a few months, and has now been made a life peer as part of the Prime Minister's 30 new appointments as he attempts to swing the House of Lords his way. But this is what Sir Keir Starmer said about the House of Lords just 2 years ago when he was in opposition.
Rebuild trust by reforming the centre of government, cleaning up sleaze, nourishing the relationship between central government and the devolved authorities, and replacing the unelected House of Lords with a new, smaller, democratically elected second chamber.
Right. How's that one working out, then? I'm a bit confused by this. This seems to be another slight... Well, what's a flip-flop, I think, isn't it? We call them for Sir Keir Starmer. So, more people going into the House of Lords that he wanted to abolish just 2 years ago.
Well, he's addressing the imbalance that's been put in there from the previous Tory administration, and if the government wants to get stuff done within the rules, they can appoint new peers. I think, you know, Sue Gray's got a distinguished career in civil service. There's no reason why she shouldn't be a Lord. I think she'd add a great value to the role that those Lords play. You know,
There's 800 of them. She won't even be noticed.
Well,
it's the largest second chamber in the world.
Well, she's definitely going to be one of the experts in the chamber and probably one of the youngest. And
expert at what, though?
Well, civil service and how government works.
We don't want any more civil servants running the country. We want, you know, straight-minded politicians, not civil servants.
Well, they play a role. We need, you know, views from all expertise, and it is an expertise, whether we like it or not, but they are there to do a role. And, you know, you've got Fang and Debonair coming in, you've got Mike Katz, who's helped change the party from where it was before. There's a lot of people
Chris, can't this be viewed as a reward to Sue Gray from Keir Starmer for getting rid of Boris Johnson? Because for months, if not years, when the inquiry started into Partygate, everybody in Westminster, Sue Gray, the most neutral woman in the whole of Britain, you know, she's straight down the middle. She turned out to be not only a Labour empathiser, but working clearly towards getting a job in a Labour government. I mean, and this is her reward. Is it £330 a day you get for being a member of the House of Lords?
Yeah, it is actually 300. And you know what? You know what? It's tax-free.
Yeah, tax-free.
Which works out, by the way.
So that's £1,500 a week. That's 75 grand a year, tax-free. That's the reward that Sue Gray's getting for being duplicitous against the Tory government and then completely failing in her new job under Keir Starmer.
Well, if she got him out any earlier, we might have avoided the Boris wave at the end of the day. But, you know, there's got to be something we've got to, you know, give Sue Gray credit for, and that is having a distinguished career in the civil service.
What distinguished career? What did she do?
She's been in cabinet in Northern
But we only know her for Partygate, for investigating Partygate.
Dealing with it.
The only thing I know about her before then was she was running a pub in South Armagh in Bandit Country and everybody said, oh, she must have been an MI6 spy. I think it was more likely she was a spy for the people on the other side. I mean, it was remarkable.
The thinking behind this, as you alluded to, Chris, is to balance out. I mean, currently there are 185 Labour peers, 271 Tory peers. When this lot go in, there'll be 211 Labour and 232. Starmer pledged to scrap the whole thing, but now I think, as you alluded to, is strengthening the ranks of Labour in there so they can just make sure they get stuff through. But the one thing that annoys me, and this is going to annoy you out there, people, as well, as we've just discussed, peers are given £361 a day, tax-free. They don't have to do anything, by the way. They
just have to sign in, don't they?
Sign in and then go down
Have your breakfast and then go home.
Exactly
That's a great job.
So
that's a great job. I would love that job.
That's nearly £80,000 a year, tax-free, people, free from Rachel Reeves.
Yeah.
So £361 a day, OK. Meanwhile, our pensioners, and I know a lot of you watch, are being robbed of that £300 a year to fill the black hole.
Exactly.
This doesn't make sense, does it, Chris?
Well, look, at the end of the day, what the Lords are there to do are review laws and legislation. If we're talking about the winter fuel allowance, you know, we've had a record increase in pension credit, 153%. People who were qualifying for that otherwise wouldn't have as a result of that winter fuel cut. And at the end of the day, we're filling the £22 billion black hole, as you've said.
The black hole.
Yeah, half of which was because we gave it all to people who work in the public sector and train drivers. You know, here we are, Labour government, you have all this and give us back in donations.
Lords play an important role and they should be paid for their expertise.
Or should they be scrapped? What do you think? gbnews.com// even your say. And by the way, people, get that form in. It's the last time to get your form in to date for your pension credit, if you need it. For all the best analysis and opinion on that story, please do go to our website, which is on gbnews.com. See it on the screen right there. I'm Dawn Neeson, this is GB News, and there's loads more coming up on today's very sparkling show. Today is set to be the busiest shopping day of the year. Take us on the radio if you're going out, as shoppers take to the high streets for the last-minute Christmas bargains. Better late than never, I suppose, she says. All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. We'll see you very soon.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
My next guest knew George Carman rather intimately. Indeed, he immediately asked her for her hand in marriage when they first met. Karen Phillips knew Carman from 1986 and was a close friend until his death in 2001. Karen has used court transcripts and personal documents to construct her new book, Get Carman. There it is. And here you are. Karen, thank you very much indeed. So you knew him very well, and actually he began to write a little bit of an autobiography just in the weeks before his death. And from those pages, I was struck by the amount of uncertainty that there was about the man. This man who was so confident in court, who charmed juries so famously, but in some ways felt that he was an actor, in some ways felt that he was fighting back nerves and uncertainties. Is that true?
I think he was quite worried about every case. It was much more that he was concerned for the client. He always wanted to do his best. He worked so hard to win a case, not really for his personal satisfaction, but because he didn't want to let people down.
His success rate was extraordinary, and, you know, I'll choose my words carefully here, but shall we say that many people were surprised at the time that Jeremy Thorpe was found not guilty. It was astonishing in the case of Jonathan Aitken, for example, that the principal charge against him, which was that he'd been corrupt in arms dealings, I don't think that was ever actually reached during the court. It seems even more surprising today that people who were employed by Mohammed Fayed were believed in the case of Neil Hamilton. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, his results are extraordinary.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you for joining me on this very busy festive Saturday. I'm really appreciating your company, not least because you're stopping me feeling guilty because I haven't done anything either. OK, today is actually the busiest shopping day of the year, evidently, in the UK and Ireland, with shops expected to be jam-packed with last-minute panic buyers. Not us, obviously, we're here together. Last year, Brits spent nearly £5 billion between the 21st and 24th of December. But will Brits spend even more this year? I thought it was a cost of living crisis, some sort of black hole thing going on, isn't there? But I full confession, I've done nothing. Sorry, darling. Have you done yours yet? Our West Midlands reporter, Jack Carson, joins us now from Birmingham, and he's not dressed up today. Normally we dress him up as an elf at this time of year. Jack, that's very dull. That's just a scarf. More effort, young man. What's it like up there at the moment?
Well, it's quite busy, actually, when you get onto the high street. It really is, especially around the Bullring and the shopping centre. You've got the Christmas market all down the high street as well. We are expecting 39 million people to be doing their shopping this weekend. You might well be one of them eventually, Dawn. But £3 billion is the number that we're getting just for this weekend on how much Britons are expected to spend. I mean, haven't done your shopping yet. As one person told me, he was waiting till the 23rd, 24th. Apparently he gets quite a lot of excitement out of doing it all very last minute. But even at 9 o'clock this morning when we were here, it was amazing how many people were already looking into the shops, already going in, trying to buy those last minute Christmas items, last minute Christmas deals. Lots of people trying to beat the rush and creating their own mini rush, because quite a few people also had the same idea to come here early this morning. The retail sector looking to come back from what was a poor October month and also a worse than expected November month. Toy sales in the first 2 weeks of December down 5% on last year. So days like today, the weekend, with lots of people finishing for Christmas on Friday, really now looking to Christmas to get their presents sorted. The retail sector certainly hoping that they can earn some of those losses that they've maybe seen in the first 2 weeks of this month. Well, we've been speaking to people here on the street today, doing their last-minute shopping, finding out whether they've been spending as much as well, given everyone's financial circumstances. Here's what they've told us.
I'm saving it for my winter fuel because I'm a pensioner. Thanks to the government.
I think I just kind of spread it out a bit, so I've spent pretty much the same.
Quite early, so I think being able to do that was useful, and yeah, but about the same, I think.
I feel my children are quite old now, so the large amount of gifts is not quite the same. So no, yeah, they don't want much, so it should be quite an easy one for us this year.
Well, there you go, Dawn. That's what some people have been telling us today. Certainly those older people having to cut back, quoting, as you heard there, their winter fuel allowance being cut as the reason why they're having to cut back on Christmas. Everyone we've spoken to has thought that actually this year they're having to budget a bit more, but it's certainly not stopping people getting into the Christmas spirit. We're getting into the Christmas spirit here. Dawn, you need to get on and do your shopping. I'm off for a German beer.
Jack Carson, you are definitely on Santa's nice step now. Thank you very much. Well done you, my lovely. OK, we will be going back to Jack to see how else he can dress up for the rest of the show, so do stay tuned. You never know what's going to come next, do you? OK, let's see what my... sounds formal. Labour Party activist Chris Warren, broadcaster Mike Parry, or Chris and Mike, as I'm going to call you this afternoon, because it's Christmas. Now, you've got a little confession. Your other ass will be a bit angry with you, isn't she?
Yeah, I haven't done the shopping just yet. One of those extra people on the road.
Yeah.
Well, you need to get busy.
And Mrs. Chris is expecting
suitable gift.
Right, OK. But little Chris is OK. You've got something for the little one.
Yeah, I've got something for the little one. That's all done.
Right, fine. Well done. You're halfway there.
Halfway there.
OK, and Mr. Smug over here.
I'm much better organised. No, I'm telling you. I've got two sisters, and I spend Christmas at one of my sisters' houses. She buys all the presents and wraps them for me to give to everybody else. Back home in Surrey, I've got a housekeeper. And on her day off, she goes and buys the presents I need to take with me to Bournemouth and wraps them.
And she helped me out.
Yeah, and wraps them. So I don't actually go and buy anything, but I organise myself to make sure all my presents get bought on time.
You've got staff, basically.
Well, not really.
You've got the butler in the East Wing.
Not really, not really.
Doing your shopping.
No, my housekeeper's been with me 20 years, so she knows the system. She's
still sane.
Yeah, but she keeps saying it's time we started the Christmas shopping. You know, I've had nothing to do with it. She just gets on with it, you know.
And they wrap everything for you as well?
Oh, yeah, of course, and put bows on it and all that kind of stuff. And, by the way, she's so decent, she even takes the presents down to my underground car park and puts them in the boot of my car for me.
Puts them in the boot of the roller. Yeah. With the chauffeur. Have you got something for the chauffeur this year?
No, I drive myself.
OK. So your sisters, do they buy and wrap their own presents? I mean, is that how that works as well, or you just...
Well, no, because I would get my niece to buy my sister's present and my sister to buy my niece's present, and they wrap them like that.
So how old's your little girl?
11 months old.
Right, so she's a bit too young to be sent out and brought her mum's present at the moment.
Station. No, not yet.
Yeah, give it another year or so. Get her down the shops. What? I'm stunned. I was not expecting that from you, to be so organised.
Well, I am incredibly organised, and I make sure I don't let people down. And in my view, you last-minute present buyers are not putting any thought into it whatsoever. You're so panic-stricken now, Chris. You'll be rushing round Selfridges on Monday afternoon, and anything will do. Anything will do. No thought whatsoever.
I will be panic-stricken running around Selfridges, but I will make sure that I'm... You know,
I would just like to say that Chris and I don't actually look that panic-stricken at the moment, do we, Chris? To be honest with you.
You wait till Monday comes.
No, exactly.
Till I see the queue.
Right, OK, well, how are you doing out there? Are you Mr. Smug over here? Have you got the staff to go out and buy your presents? GBNews.com/you'll say. Or are you like Chris and I, who will be rushing via the pub, possibly, on the very last minute to buy a few last-minute gifts? Yes, let me know. gbnews.com/your say. Now, I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is GB News, and there's loads more coming up on today's show. If you are rushing out, by the way, we are on the radio. You can take us with you, OK? And if you could just buy presents on behalf of Chris and I, that'd be fantastic. Now, it's fair to say Lord Mandelson, remember him, has divided opinion since being appointed the UK's ambassador to the United States. He's been described as an absolute moron by one top Trump advisor. Oops. All that and much more to come. That's after the news with Sam Francis, who's probably got all his presents as well. Here he is.
Dawn, thank you very much. Good afternoon to you. It's just after 12:30. The death toll following an attack on a German Christmas market has now risen to 5, including a child, with more than 200 people left injured. Chancellor Olaf Scholz said nearly 40 of those are very seriously injured after a driver drove an SUV into crowds in eastern Germany. The suspect, a 50-year-old Saudi doctor, has been arrested, but officials say he's not known as an extremist. Here, Sir Keir Starmer has called the attack horrific and expressed solidarity with Germany, while Foreign Secretary David Lammy offered support to his counterpart. The tragedy yesterday comes just 8 years after a similar attack in Berlin, where 13 people were killed. Time is running out for pensioners to claim pension credit and secure their winter fuel payments for this year, with the deadline just hours away. Online applications close a minute to midnight, and phone lines will be open until 3 o'clock this afternoon for any last-minute calls. Around 760,000 pensioners could miss out, with the benefit topping up weekly incomes and unlocking extra support. The change, announced by Chancellor Rachel Reeves, means that winter fuel payments now go only to those on means-tested benefits, slashing recipients from 11.5 million to just 1.5 million. The Prince and Princess of Wales are funding a new programme to tackle mental health challenges in rural Norfolk communities. Partnering with Norfolk and Waveney Mind, the 2-year pilot will provide counselling and targeted support for the 1,500 residents around the Sandringham estate. Set to launch in 2025, the initiative will include training for local employers to address issues like rural isolation or farming-related pressures. It's hoped the project could become a blueprint for mental health support on other rural estates across the UK. And wet, windy and wild, Christmas travel plans for millions could be blown off course this weekend. Yellow weather warnings for wind cover much of the UK, with gusts of up to 80 miles an hour forecast for Scotland and northern coastal areas. The Met Office says road, rail and ferry disruption is likely as millions hit the roads. Friday expected to be the busiest travel day since records began in 2010. And showers could also bring snow and icy conditions to parts of Scotland, with strong winds making Sunday's journeys exhausting, according to the RAC. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you in half an hour, and Dawn will be with you straight after this break.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to news alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast on the Met Office. Well, for the rest of the day, it's going to be a pretty windy picture, especially across the west. Rain will clear the south, and really most of us seeing a mixture of some showers and some sunshine. The reason for the unsettled weather is this area of low pressure, which is going to really dominate proceedings over the course of the weekend. The wind really strong across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England during the course of today. So may well hamper some travelling conditions here. Warnings are enforced right throughout the weekend. A mixture of sunshine and showers across many parts, but the rain just clinging on across the far south. But here we may well just see temperatures hang into double figures, but for most of us it's going to be a fairly cold afternoon. So as we move into the evening hours, the showers continue to pile in across the north. Some of these showers will turn increasingly wintry, especially across the high ground of Scotland. So combined with the wind, that again could hamper some travelling conditions if you are travelling overnight tonight. Also a few wintry showers developing across Northern Ireland and Northern England, where further south, any showers generally of rain, with that main rain band just beginning to clear across the very far south of England. So throughout the night, the main focus of the showers will be across the northern half of the UK, a few showers further south, but for all of us it's going to be a blustery one. Wind warnings extending further south as we go into Sunday. And generally it's going to be a cold feeling start to the day. Temperatures generally above freezing, but I think we could just see a few icy patches across the northern half of the country. And really, for most of us, Sunday is going to be a day to wrap up warmly. That wind really going to make temperatures really struggle for the course of the day. Further showers, especially across the northern half of the country. Again, risk of some sleet and snow in places. Best of the sunshine across the south, but even here, despite the sunshine, it's going to be feeling pretty cold.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you for joining me on this lovely festive Saturday. And I do actually have some Christmas stuff done. I have brought some wine, as has my panellist, Chris. Yes, and Mike probably has too. But we are moving on, right? We are going to keep going back to Christmas throughout the show, as you might have spotted this. That's why I'm dressing like this. Now, Lord Peter Mandelson, remember him, Mandy? His divided opinion since being selected as the UK's ambassador to the United States, being branded by a top Trump campaign advisor as an absolute moron. This is going well so far. The move has also divided Labour MPs, with some citing his outspoken criticism of some of the party's policies and personalities over the years. On top of that, he's also been critical of the incoming president, calling him reckless and a danger to the world. For his part, Sir Keir Starmer has defended the decision, saying Lord Mandelson will bring even unrivalled experience to the role and take our partnership from strength to strength. Call me naive, didn't sound too well so far. Mike Parry, you know, if you don't know who Mike Parry is now, I'm going to keep introducing him. Mike Parry. Mike.
Thank you.
What do you make of this?
I think it's a brilliant appointment.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I think that Lord Mandelson is the consummate politician. I'm not sure he even believes in anything because he's so good at picking the right side. I mean, he's so pragmatic, and by that what I mean is, remember, he was the architect of bringing Tony Blair to the forefront of the Labour Party and reminding Gordon Brown that a dull, rather, you know, not too good-looking a Scotsman as Gordon Brown was, wouldn't be as good a bet for the Labour Party as Bambi, Tony Blair. And he managed to engineer Tony Blair into position, and Tony Blair won 3 general elections, because that was him being at his pragmatic best. How will it work? So what I'm saying is, I don't think his history of political beliefs or political support matters. He's got a very distinctive job now to make the UK work in the United States. I think he's a brilliant negotiator. He's a very charming man. I've known him probably for 22 or 23 years from my days in Fleet Street. And I can tell you something, when I worked in Washington, the ambassador was a guy called Lord Robin Rennick. You've got to be the consummate, you know, deal maker. You've got to be the consummate Britisher to impress the Americans, which Lord Robin Rennick was. He used to get me to ask all the easy questions in the press conferences to make the UK government look good. And I think Mandelson will do a good job.
We did have have a woman out there who was doing quite a good job, Dame Karen Pierce. I mean, she was quite...
Yeah, but this is Starmer's appointment, and I think Starmer had to make an appointment because of the difficulties between the Labour Party in this country and the Trump and the US government.
OK, all right, Chris, bringing you in on this. Right, Mandelson, a staunch Remainer, wants a second referendum, advocated deeper trade links with China. These are all things that Trump is going to have trouble dealing with, isn't he?
Well, first and foremost, you know, Lord Mandelson would be a fantastic appointment. He's got 5 decades of experience in government and economic...
He had to step down twice.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of the cycle of...
Yeah, but against Trump, that doesn't seem too bad, does it?
No, well, at the end of the day, he's got foreign and economic policy expertise. He was a co-founder of Global Council. These guys are experts in trade, business, regulation.
Yeah.
If you want someone who's been a European EU Commissioner for Trade, as well as in roles within the UK government, this is the exact person that you want to be taking that role as US Ambassador, as we have to explore links closer to the USA with the Trump administration, while as well, you know, balancing the interests of our relationship with the EU. He's got all the expertise that we could ever hope.
But he did, unfortunately, describe the president-elect as a danger to the world and little short of a white nationalist and racist.
Yeah, but don't you know, J.D. Vance, the Vice President-elect, said in a private conversation that Trump was America's Hitler. They still got along. People can put stuff behind them and get on with business.
Oh, I totally agree, and Trump in particular. The one thing that really impressed me about Mandelson many years ago was, well, don't worry at all about anybody wanting to get filthy rich. I like that attitude. I like to be filthy rich, or I would like to be filthy rich, and so I think that sort of attitude in America is a good one.
Yeah.
Well, he also brought 2 million people out of poverty under the Blair administration and done a lot of other good things, so it's on balance, isn't it?
He was known as Tony Blair's brain back in the day, isn't he? But we do have to move on because our gbnews.com/your say. What do you make of it, by the way? Because we have to talk about some winter sunshine. Yes, who doesn't need a bit of that? So we are now going to bring you the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations. Have a look at this.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Storm Dino so clears, but it remains often cloudy and sometimes windy around coastal areas, particularly for the Canary Islands and Madeira. A fairly strong northwesterly flow dragging in some cloud and some outbreaks of rain at times. Fairly settled across Portugal and Spain, but as we move further east, cloudy with some showers at times, particularly for Rome and at times parts of Greece. But it generally looks like it's improving by the time we reach the middle of the week, with the best of the temperatures across Madeira.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Yeah, I quite fancy that bit of the map with no blue stuff over it at the moment. I'm Dawn Neeson, this is GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's packed and sparkling show. I'm joined by sports broadcaster Aidan McGee to look ahead to the furious fight even in Saudi Arabia. Who's your money on? All that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. We'll see you soon.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Donna Ida, who joins us now. And Donna, you look spectacular in your gorgeous denim jumpsuit.
Thank you.
And accessories. And it's important, isn't it, sometimes, just to keep things simple?
I always keep things simple. I travel a lot, I work long hours, and I don't want to think too much about what I'm wearing. So for me, one and done is perfect. Good accessories, fresh hair, nice makeup, and you can go anywhere, including GB News when you didn't know what was happening.
There we
Perfect.
go. Welcome.
Straight off the plane.
Can we ask you some of our top denim questions?
Yes.
Because Stephen Dixon, the presenter of The Breakfast Show who's just on, said that double denim to him is an absolute no-go.
Oh, what does
Is that true?
Don't have him on again, darling.
OK. We're telling me
I
fact.
love double denim.
Really?
I love it. I think it is so cool.
Does it have to be a different
I was going
tones?
to say double denim, same colour.
Or same
I
tones?
like the... For me, I actually do like the same. Think Saint Laurent 70s. There's an amazing one that we're doing that's going to look great on you in this season. The Joan Jean, we've got the City Slicker shirt. Oh, it's amazing. If it's done well, it's perfect. And I like it in a paler blue, but a good mid to dark. Very chic.
You go.
No, well, I was just thinking, little old me, not quite sure
You look amazing
what to wear this morning. How do
was a bit
guys
stressed.
pull off denim?
For me, if I was dressing you, I would have put you in a pair of jeans this morning with his amazing jumper. Gorgeous watch.
Black, blue?
Black denim I do like. Men don't like it so much. Men like charcoal denim.
Oh, I don't like grey.
Charcoal. I love grey, and the best seller for men is charcoal denim.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Now, evidently, there's a big fight tonight. No, not between me and Mike Parry, who's feeling very smug because he's done his Christmas shopping. Evidently, well, let broadcaster Aidan McGee tell you all the details of the big fight tonight. Aidan, lovely to see you. Looking gorgeous in blue.
Thank you very much, Dawn. Good afternoon to you as well and the rest of the panel. Look, it's Fury against Usyk 2 tonight. We saw a mammoth dust-up in the desert back in the summertime. Usyk prevailed despite being the underdog, but it was a brilliant fight. It was a real fight for the ages. And what happened that night, I felt, was that Fury conceded the middle of the ring, and when he allowed Usyk, the uber-skilled guy from the Ukraine, who's been through so much and has even boxed at home for about 4 years because of all the atrocities that have been going on in his homeland, and he took the fight to Tyson Fury. And apart from a few little skirmishes and a few rounds, I felt that, all right, it wasn't an easy win, but he was a convincing win. This week, you've seen a different Fury. You've seen him disappear into camp. He hasn't spoken to his missus for 3 months. He's grown this long beard because it makes him feel strong. Usyk has come in and said, well, actually, I don't like this beard because I think you could be cheating because it cushions the blow of a punch.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then the controllers looked at it last night and thought his beard is OK. And Usyk said that, well, actually, what about if I get cut? It's like rubbing a Brillo pad on my face. He didn't say that. Brillo pad is very much a sort of European-wide thing, aren't they? But but he still thinks he's going to push it further. That's just gamesmanship. That's what Frank Warren, who said he was on breakfast early this morning, said about that. Then there's been issues about the weight as well. They both come in the heaviest they've ever been.
The height difference as well.
Yeah, it is. But boxing is not all about...
Astonishing difference in weight. About 4 stone in weight, 6 inches in height, about 5 inches in reach. You wonder how it can. I get the impression, Aidan, you know more about this than me, that Tyson thinks he took it too lightly last time.
I think so, yeah.
You mentioned the issue. He hasn't spoken to his wife. He hasn't spoken to a single member of his family for 3 months.
Well, his father's normally in the corner.
Exactly. But what he's saying is, I am now so focused on this fight, nothing else matters. That gives me the impression he thought he took it too lightly last time because Usyk is so much smaller than him.
I think that he possibly has been a bit too harsh on himself. I think Usyk might well be remembered as one of the greatest ever, along with Tyson Fury, of course. But in terms of predictions, we heard from Frank Warren this morning. Here's what he had to say on breakfast.
I think the first round will be like the 13th round of the last fight. These guys are so evenly matched. It was such a close decision last time. There was a fag paper in it. And both of them, having shared the ring for 12 rounds with each other, in which was the heavyweight fight of the 21st century, the best 2 heavyweights out there. They know their strengths and weaknesses of each other. And it's going to be interesting to see how and who can capitalise on that and how much the last fight has taken out of the both of them. But it's going to be a great fight. They're both in great shape. And if you look at them, they're so focused on it. I've never seen anything in my time in boxing with 2 guys on what we call a face-off, staring at each other for, I think it was 11.5 minutes. Not one of them blinked or moved, and it was just that's how intense it is. They just won't give in even to that.
Yeah, Frank Warren, who does know what he's talking about with boxing, obviously. The problem with this fight, it's going to be in the middle of the night again, isn't it?
No, not necessarily. It's not as bad as if it was an occasion in the US at Madison Square Garden or something where we were used to staying up till 3, 4 in the morning, weren't we? This time, I think the ring walk we'll see around about 10:30. It will depend on the undercard whether any of those matches or those fights overrun, because you can never predict what happens. It could be open in one round, or it could go the distance to 12 or whatever. But I think it's not unrealistic and not beyond the realms to see some action at about 11, quarter past. In terms of the numbers, we're looking at a TV audience globally of roughly about 500 million people, plus another 20 million streaming it illegally, which DAZN said they're going to clamp down on. The purse, £150 million, not been disclosed who gets what. Last time it was about 120. Usyk got 35 of that.
I think it depends on the victor, this one. I think that's why they're not telling you.
Well,
you see what I mean?
It depends on the draw. It depends on who's putting the bums on seats. I still think, despite the defeat last time, it's Usyk that's drawing people to the party.
That's right. And also, it's a major step forward again for Saudi Arabia and their sports washing operation, isn't it? I mean, it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It is. One thing Frank said this morning, I said to him, we're going to see Christmas fighting, Christmas boxing, Christmas boxing on Boxing Day.
Yeah, exactly.
In future, because it just makes sense, doesn't it? We all love football around this Christmas period. Why not have big fights in boxing? I think it's a no-brainer, and I think the fight game missed a trick over the last 20 years.
I think there's going to be a war at the end of the day. You've seen the 11.5-minute stare-off. You've got two big beasts coming at each other, and I think, you know, with the way they've been preparing for this, and with last time's round as well, that it's going to be a complete show. Like, I mean, I'm in Carl Frampton's court. I backed in Fury on this. Like, he's coming in at over 20 stone. He's, like you say, the training he's put in is immense, but Usyk's a commendable fighter.
On the way, what it says to me, Dawn, is that he's gone in heavier than he ever has been before. It's difficult to carry that weight over 12 rounds.
Exactly.
He wants to get in there and get the job done early and get out of there. It's very risky.
Why has he gone up to that weight?
Because I think he wants to get the job done early, and he sees the key to that being overpowering the smaller man. Yeah. But it didn't work last time.
Well, yes, but again, we've already discussed this. He didn't take it seriously enough last time.
I think he did.
I don't think he did.
He was just
no, I mean, look, we all remember the other Tyson, Mike Tyson, and Buster Douglas, OK?
Yes. Oh, it was nothing like that.
No, but what I'm saying is boxers can get to a stage where they take it for granted they're going to win.
They can.
And I think he did that last time. I don't think he has done this one.
He won't be hanging on for the ropes this time with that weight. He'll be sitting in the middle of the ring, I think, trying to dominate it.
Yeah, quite
right, OK, well, I'm sorry, I've got to call time on you all. Seconds out. Bell somebody. See what I did there? Thank you very much, Aidan McGee.
Cheers,
big fight tonight. Thank you very much to Chris and Mike for joining me. Chris, you better go out shopping, mate. I'm with you later on. I'm Dawn Neeson, this is GB News. But before we all go out shopping, I'm back, actually. Here's the weather with Craig Snell.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. We're looking ahead towards the Christmas week. It is set to turn much milder across the country, but before we get there, we have plenty of wind and cold weather out there for the rest of the weekend. That's all courtesy of this area low pressure, dragging in some very cold air from the north, and also note the isobars indicating some very windy weather too. So as we see at Saturday, plenty of showers around, especially across the northern half of the UK. Some of these showers will turn increasingly to sleet and snow, mainly across the high ground, but that may well lead to some icy stretches as we go through the course of the night. Also, wind warnings in force across many western and northern areas, so if you do have travel plans over the course of the weekend, do allow some extra time for your journeys. So as we start Sunday morning off, we will see some sunshine around, especially across East Anglia and the southeast of England. But further west, showers from the word go, and a very similar story across the north too. But here we will continue to see the risk of some sleet and snow, especially for the high ground of Scotland, where the winds will also remain very strong. Risk of gales, potentially severe gales, as we start Sunday morning in places. And really, for most of us, it is going to be a blustery day. And that wind really is going to make it feel bitterly cold right across the country. Best of any brightness really will be across the east, with the most frequent and heaviest showers continuing across Scotland, where again they will be of a wintry nature. So temperatures a little bit academic. These what we'll see on the thermometer, but factor in the strength of the wind. As I mentioned, it is going to be feeling much colder than this. Into the evening, very little changes across the north, still further sleet and snow showers around, but across the south a little bit quieter with more in the way of dry and clearer weather developing. And then as we head towards the Christmas period, it does look like it's going to turn much milder, so the chances of snow at this stage very low.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Martin Dalby, weekdays from 3 p.m.
After the Hollywood ending that Wrexham Football Club have got, can Chorley FC benefit from a bit of the old celebrity magic dust?
I can't see why not. The guys have been down a few times now, and when they do come down, obviously they're bringing that with them. A little town like Chorley doesn't see much of the charts and big stars, so it's really nice to see them, and we always welcome them when they do come down.
And Mark, give us a flavour of the level of football. I understand you're in the National League North, right? That's 6 rungs down from the top flight. I mean, you're only just down the road from Manchester City, right? But I mean, give us a flavour of the two different worlds between your club and Man City. Our players are all part-timers. So we've got kind of fitness coaches, we've got teachers, we've got all kinds of players who have full-time jobs alongside playing. Our average crowd is probably a tenth of what you get at Man City, probably even less than that. We get about 1,500 on a home game. The thing is, we know where we are and we understand where we are, and we are a real community club. Tonight, I'm ready now. I'm off to Marine, so off over to Merseyside. Playing the likes of Liverpool and Everton over on Merseyside would be kind of a dream come true. But we know where we are. We would just love to get to the Football League. So teams like Salford, Stockport County were in our division a couple of years ago, all flying now in the Football League. We just want to do the same. We sat down with the board last year and they told us the vision for the future, and that vision most definitely is that we want to be a Football League club. When we went to the Premier League, I know the boys have been saying that they 30 years we'll be in the Premier League and winning it. Well, let's hope we are, and let's hope I'm still around to see that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock on Saturday. Yes, the 21st of December, and you're not ready, are you? And I know, I feel your pain. This is the weekend on GB News. OK, the breaking story from overnight, it's horrible, but we have to talk about it. It's now been confirmed that 5 people, including a child, have died after a car drove into crowds at a German Christmas market. City officials say over 200 people were injured, and the suspect, a 50-year-old Saudi doctor, is believed to have acted alone. We'll have the latest with our home and security editor, Mark White. And a grey area, yes, another one for Sir Keir Starmer as he appoints 30 new Labour peerages in an attempt to rebalance the House of Lords. It comes despite his pledge upon becoming a Labour leader to abolish that House in favour of a newly elected second chamber. We'll have all the reaction on that one as well. And Fairy Tale of New York, Jingle Bell Rock, Last Christmas, what do these hits have in common? Apart from being iconic festive songs, they were all released at least 30 years ago. I'm asking what happened to the prestigious #1 race. Has it been destroyed by streaming? I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is indeed The Weekend. So thank you very much for joining me on this lovely festive Saturday. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend out there. Weather's not too great, but you can sit in front of the telly and keep me company. You can even wear sparkles if you want as well, or probably a more comfortable onesie or something. Santa onesie, why not? But this show is nothing without you and your views. So let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're discussing today. It's really simple to get involved. Just visit gbnews.com/yoursay and join the conversation. And because it's Christmas, just have a chat. Do whatever you want. Tell me what you're doing, what you got. Are you ready? Have you done anything? Are you panicking? Like some of us might be. I've got some great company for you this hour as well. Former Labour advisor Matthew Talbot, who's just bought me a Christmas card. Thank you so much. I love him. Thank you. And broadcaster Claire Muldoon, who hasn't. Anyway,
yeah, but do you know what's even worse? I'm the right smug one in the corner here because I've got all the shopping done. and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, this is literally Mike Parry in a frock. If you're with us on the
Oh, good God, I hope not.
He's done everything.
He didn't, actually. He got people to do it for him.
To do it.
I physically did it all by myself.
Oh, right, OK, thank you very much.
Comparison stops there.
All right, stop, Claire, stop. God almighty. Can't get
it's a pity you didn't get her a bottle. We could have opened that.
Yes, quite. Any case,
you still fiddling with the baubles?
Before we get stuck into today's stories, where's this one going? Let's get some calm sanity with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. It is just after 1 o'clock. The top story this lunchtime. The German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has said that Germany will stand united, as officials have now confirmed that at least 5 people, including a child, were killed in a major car ramming at a Christmas market on Friday night. More than 200 are also injured, many seriously, after a driver drove an SUV into crowds in eastern Germany. Well, let's take you live now to scenes in Magdeburg, where people and emergency services have been coming together to lay flowers at the scene where many lost their lives in that attack on Friday night. A memorial service, we understand, is expected to be held in the city's cathedral later this evening. We will, of course, bring you all the details on that as it happens. Well, the 50-year-old suspect has been identified as a Saudi doctor. He has been arrested, but officials are saying he is not known as an Islamic extremist. However, in the last few minutes, we have seen and heard details that he has in previous years posted on social media anti-Islamic views and conspiracy theories online. German authorities saying he did act alone, though his motive at this stage remains unclear. Here, Sir Keir Starmer has called the attack horrific and expressed solidarity with Germany, while the Foreign Secretary David Lammy has offered support to his German counterpart. Time is running out for pensioners to claim pension credit and secure their winter fuel payment for this year, with the deadline now just hours away. Online applications close at a minute to midnight, and phone lines will be open until 3:15 this afternoon for any last-minute calls. Around 760,000 pensioners could miss out, with the benefit topping up weekly incomes and unlocking extra support. The change, announced by the Chancellor Rachel Reeves, means that winter fuel payments now go only to those on means-tested benefits, slashing recipients from almost 11.5 million pensioners to now just 1.5 million. Scrap staff parking charges, that's the call from unions, as new research has revealed 1 in 4 NHS trusts in England have raised fees for patients, staff or both in the last 2 years. Patients' charities say the charges unfairly penalise unwell people, while NHS leaders argue financial pressures leave trusts with little choice but to charge. The rises, often targeting city centre hospitals, have seen higher earners pay more, while NHS staff collectively spent over £70 million on parking last year alone. The Prince and Princess of Wales are funding a new programme to tackle mental health challenges in rural communities in Norfolk. Partnering with Norfolk and Waveney Mind, the 2-year pilot scheme will provide counselling and targeted support for the 1,500 residents around the Sandringham estate. Set to launch next year, the initiative will include training for local employers to address issues like rural isolation and farming-related pressures. It's hoped the Royal project could become a blueprint for mental health support on other estates across the UK. Crowds across the Northern Hemisphere have been gathering from early this morning to get a sight of the winter solstice, marking the shortest day and longest night of the year. In London, there's just under 8 hours of daylight today, with sunrise at 4 minutes past 8 this morning and sunset in, less than 4 hours' time, 3:53 p.m. There's even less daylight for people further north. The solstice signals the return of longer days and is celebrated worldwide, from pagan Yule festivals to modern traditions inspired by ancient customs. And wet, windy and wild, Christmas travel plans for millions could be blown off course this weekend. Yellow weather warnings for wind cover much of the UK, with gusts of up to 80 miles an hour forecast for Scotland and northern coastal areas. The Met Office says road, rail and ferry disruption is likely as millions hit the road. Friday next week is expected to be the busiest travel day since records began in 2010, and showers could bring snow and icy conditions to parts of Scotland, with strong winds making tomorrow's journeys exhausting, according to the RAC. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you in around half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you very much, Sam. And you may as well stay in and get cosy. It's the shortest day of the year, so may as well stay in and keep me company on your settee, hey? And I just would like to say a quick message to Grumpy Grandad, who's one of our regular viewers, who's very poorly and could be in hospital over Christmas. So good luck to you, Grumpy, and anyone else who is poorly over the Christmas period and may be in hospital. All our love from everyone at GB News. OK, now let's get stuck into today's stories, shall we? The breaking story from Germany overnight, it's horrible. We do have to talk about it, though. I'm sorry. 5 people have been killed and over 200 injured after a car drove into crowds at a German Christmas market last night. The suspected attacker arrested at the scene is believed to be a 50-year-old doctor from Saudi Arabia. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer says he is horrified by the atrocious attack, and many, many leaders around the world have echoed those sentiments. Joining me now is GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White to bring us up to date on what's happening in Germany. Mark, it's a horrible story. It's not the first time we've had this, unfortunately. Again, more families, attending a Christmas market, and their lives have, been ruined. Christmas will never be the same for many, many people at that market. Can you bring us up to date on what's happening?
Yes, well, indeed, these Christmas markets, any crowded place, particularly at this time of year, is seen as being particularly vulnerable, at risk from those that might want to do people harm and cause as much in the way of death and destruction as possible. And that, according to the German authorities, is exactly what we saw last night, as this car was deliberately rammed at a very high speed into this Christmas market in Magdeburg, a city in northeastern Germany, about 100 miles west of Berlin, a significant city, thankfully with also well-established major trauma centres in that area, where the very significant numbers of injured were taken to. They were triaged on the ground by dozens of paramedics who responded en masse to this incident. We are told at this hour, as the number of injured has increased almost threefold from what we were told last night, that about 40 of those who've been injured are in very serious condition. And Olaf Scholz, the German Chancellor, who was touring the scene of this attack today, said that he was very concerned indeed for those 40 individuals. The key concern, of course, that the death toll already now at 5, including one child, could rise beyond that. In terms of the suspect, he is a 50-year-old Saudi Arabian man who came to Germany in 2006 and claimed asylum. He was wanted by the Saudi authorities for an allegation, we're told, of rape and other criminality, but he was granted asylum in Germany in 2016, and there he has lived ever since, working in a hospital just about 26 miles from the city of Magdeburg, where the attack took place. Now, there are reports that he was a conspiracy theorist and anti-Islamist as well. The German authorities are trying to get to the bottom of all that and trying to establish what form of twisted logic was behind this attack, what could have been the motivation for this attack. But they're in no doubt that it was a deliberate, targeted attack on this Christmas market designed to cause as many casualties as possible. As for this market in Magdeburg, well, the authorities say that is going to close down now. They're going to dismantle the stalls. There's no way that they could continue with that market over Christmas. And a number of other markets in Germany have decided to do similar. Others are upping their security. It's not just in Germany, elsewhere in Europe, including the UK. Security will be reviewed in the wake of this terrible event that unfolded last night.
Thank you very much. That's News Home and Security editor Mark White reporting on the horror attack there. And you can see live pictures there from the scene of people laying flowers, as we often see after these happenings, don't we? A floral tribute. Absolutely heartbreaking story. There's not really much we can say about it. There is lots of speculation online, but until we know the full story, I find it's best probably not to go down that road. Joining me now is a Labour Party activist, Chris Worrell, and broadcaster, Claire Muldoon. Actually, no, it's not. Sorry, it's Matthew Torbett and Claire Muldoon. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. You can identify as whoever you want these days. Sorry about that. Matthew, I mean, just quickly, I mean, there's not a lot we can say. It's just horrible, isn't it?
It's deeply upsetting. There is very little I can add other than words, really, for people that are going through it. One thing I will say is that I am very pleased and happy that they're continuing to go ahead with the markets, and regardless of anybody's reasoning for doing such an act, it's important that we don't cower away from these people, and we're not scared, and you take these people on and they're not allowed to win in any way, whatever cause they're fighting for. I think the only thing that concerned me overnight was watching elected officials of all countries positively salivating over the idea that this man may be some sort of Islamic extremist, so that it would further their political cause. It concerns me a lot. You know, the general public will do what they want with regards to these cases. If you're an elected official with a very big platform, you should not be stirring the pot further and giving it a little nudge and a wink.
Yeah. I mean, we have seen attacks carried out by Islamist terrorists.
67% of MI5's caseload since 2018 it has been Islamic extremists. 22% has been far-right extremism. This bloke appears to, from sort of reports, falls into maybe either category. But even with the Manchester arrests and the charges yesterday, we've got to let those in power get on with their jobs and get things done. None of us are coppers, none of us are MI5, and we need to allow people to get on with the job that they need to do and ensure that this sort of stuff is limited to as little as possible or doesn't happen again.
Yeah, Matthew had a very good point there, didn't he, Claire? The fact that terrorism, regardless of where it's from, works by terrorising it into stopping us living our lives. And really the message we should send back to anyone who's trying to terrorise us into sort of doing what they want is to get out there and carry on with our lives.
Yeah, but you cannot legislate against any of this happening. Just on the Christmas markets, they are closing them in Germany, as Mark reported. But on 2nd of November of this year, Birmingham police were actually on guard for the first of the German markets to open up in Birmingham. We've got two facts to take away from yesterday's horrific attack. One, it was targeted, and two, innocent people have lost their lives. Beyond that, I am not willing to comment. I am not willing to stoke any fire of anti-Islamic rhetoric or even anti-right rhetoric, because in my view, The right and the left have all lost direction, and we are directionless. I don't care if you're right, if you're left, if you're white, if you're black, if you're brown, if you're a Christian, if you're a Muslim, I don't care. The fact is, this has happened. It's an atrocity, and people should be able to go about their lives without anything,
Indeed.
without any of this impacting them at all.
Indeed.
The reality is, we can't.
Strong words indeed. Yeah, so obviously I know it sounds a cliche, but thoughts and prayers with those that have lost loved ones and obviously the injured, and especially at this time of year, hopefully the power of prayer might work and they might actually come out of hospital, you know, as well as they can be. OK, now we'll move on. An anti-Keir Starmer song has topped the downloads and sales charts, but missed out on the Christmas #1 slot. Freezing this Christmas via the parody act, Sir Starmer and the Granny Harmers uses the melody of Mud's 1974 hit Lonely This Christmas to heavily criticise the Prime Minister's winter fuel payment cuts. Despite raising money for pensioners in need, is it wrong to turn suffering into a song, though? And could it risk diluting the very, very serious message that many pensioners potentially will die this Christmas, this winter, because they have lost that payment? It's £300. Now, bearing in mind, we were talking about the House of Lords earlier on. House of Lords get 360 quid just for popping in, and that's tax-free. We actually are losing £300 for our most vulnerable in society. However, let's get back to the song. What do you make of it, Claire? Is it a good thing? I mean, it's raising money for charity, pensioners are benefiting from it, but is it in the best possible taste?
It's ironic. It is a parody, and it's Christmas, but it's also raising money. I mean, what's name me a Christmas song that's not cheesy, that's not blighted, that we don't remember the words to. I mean, come on. Let's let live.
Matthew?
I think it's fine. I thought I'd listened to it yesterday. I thought it was quite funny. And I think the thing that concerns me is it's reminded us that the BBC is basically another arm of the state, and they're going to represent the state, the government of the day, as well as the royals and the establishment and whatever else. And we don't live in China, right? We don't live in North Korea.
Well, they should be represented.
The
BBC is a British Broadcasting Corporation. They ought to be, the output has to be for the licence fee.
The BBC have refused to play this, even after the final chart position was announced. The official chart.
I don't get why they haven't, though. I think they should.
Cut the song from its Christmas top 40.
They should be playing it.
No, I think it's freedom of expression and freedom of protest is a very important part of our democracy and the way that we live. Therefore, the only thing I will give them is they're consistent on this, which is, I don't think is right. When The Beat brought out Stand Down Margaret about Margaret Thatcher in 1980, they appeared on, I think it was Cheggers Goes Pop or whatever it was back in the day, and there was concerns. I think Keith Chegwin went up to them before the broadcast and said, one of our producers thinks this is about Margaret Thatcher, is that true? And they said, no, it's about a dance back in Jamaica and all the rest of it. When they started the song, they took off their jackets and had this robot version of Margaret Thatcher with a nuclear explosion behind them. I think that's perfectly legitimate protest. They wanted her to stand down. They should have played the Sex Pistols back in the day. They should allow this to go ahead. I think they're also arguably speaking for a large swathe of the country. So what's wrong with that? Yeah. The vast majority of the country standing against things like the winter fuel.
In 2013, Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead reached #2 following the death of Margaret Thatcher. And the BBC did refuse to play that as well. They obviously banned the Sex Pistols back in the day.
Yeah, they did. And not that I remember that because I was too young.
Right, go away. I'm really going off you this afternoon, Claire Maldon. But they do play a pro-Republican Northern Irish band, Kneecap, who released a single called Get Your Brits Out, and the trio, known for their provocative lyrics, are given editorial control for Radio 1 Chill Out slot. So they do have double standards in some areas.
I suppose it depends how popular you are. Kneecap have got quite a large following. You know, certainly with regards to youth culture, Radio 1 and others are totally losing a lot of the young listeners that they used to have, certainly when I was growing up. So that doesn't surprise me. But again, you're opening yourself to the charge of hypocrisy. And if Kneecap wish to protest about the British state, more power to them. If these gentlemen want to protest about the Prime Minister's winter fuel allowance, then more power to them.
Does anyone actually listen to the lyrics of songs anymore, though? It's just the melody. Do you know what I mean? It's just the melody for me.
Well, I've always been bad with lyrics. I remember Happy Birthday and Jingle Bells, and that's about it. I'm really really bad for it.
Even Tom Grennan, that wonderful young pop star, has brought out a rendition of Jingle Bells. I mean,
so I don't even know about it. See, I'm just out of the loop altogether. This is showing my age now.
I think a lot of people are.
But this particular, I mean, sort of like freezing this Christmas, it's topped the downloads in the sales charts, but it's missed out on Christmas #1 because of the way it's organised.
What is the Christmas #1?
Well, this is the thing you've got to ask, haven't you? It's Wham's 1984 hit Last Christmas.
Which is just... What a tune.
It was
spelled C-H-double-O-N.
It was #1 last year. But because of the way we stream things these days, it's you know, this Christmas finished, Freezing This Christmas finished at number 37 in the official singles charts, even though it topped the downloads charts.
Oh, I'm confused. It's almost as if the Office of National Statistics has come up with a way to treat the data, which is so confusing.
But gone are the days, we were talking about remembering lyrics and things, gone are the days when songs would do battle to become the Christmas #1.
Exactly.
Like Slade and Wizard, which you won't remember, you were way too young, you won't remember either, but you might out there. You know, and Shakin' Stephen versus Ali Jones in 1985. Anyone remember that one? Spice Girls versus All Saints, you remember that?
I do. I'd also remember when Shakin' Stevens was quite attractive.
Quite sure you can say that, thank you very much. Still quite attractive. Men of a certain age, very attractive. But we don't know...
Women of a certain age, did you just say that?
Yes. Oh, my God, I'm going to move on. This is going down a very deep hole, Claire Mulder. She's very naughty this afternoon, isn't she? For all the best analysis and opinion on that story and much more, go to the website at gbnews.com. Stop sniggering, Claire. I'm Dawn Nice. This is going to be a long afternoon. It's GB News, and there's loads more coming up on today's show. Festive travel plans could be blown off course, literally, for millions up and down the country this week. Nothing to do with sprouts, by the way, people. People rushing home for Christmas. Could you be impacted by that horrible weather, though? All of that and much more to come. This is Britain's Newsroom. We'll see you very soon. Right, young lady.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Millions are struggling to stay warm with the wet weather, the cost of living and, of course, cuts to fuel payments.
Yes, winter is fast approaching, so it's crucial to find cost-effective ways to save on your energy expenses whilst staying reasonably warm.
So joining us to provide advice on heating your home, or at least staying warm somehow, is one of the leading voices on lowering energy bills, Nick Miles. And you are very welcome in here this morning. I mean, a lot of people say, well, in the olden days, you just used to put on an extra jumper. But actually, it's more serious than that, isn't it? What is the best way, the most cost-effective way to keep your home warm?
Some of the bigger things is we need to do more things on insulating our properties, but actually sometimes, you know, it can be simple things like turning down a thermostat. You know, those that have got the luxury of being able to afford energy bills and keep their homes on the thermostat a bit too high. If you just turn it down by one simple degree, as long as you keep it between 18 and 22 degrees, can save up to 5 to 10% of your energy bill. So that's a kind of a very simple way of doing things. But, you know, it can be other little tips and tricks you can do as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I always get it when people say about this, but like 18 degrees is not warm for a house.
No, and it's twofold actually. It's that kind of relative temperature, but also it's the kind of drafts and things you have in your house. So it's the comfort factor. So what we have a lot of old properties in our country. You've got some 8 million hard-to-treat properties built before World War II that have got poor insulation, but also very, very drafty. So it's the temperature and it's the kind of the draftiness of them that kind of keeps us uncomfortable.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're
Proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you very much for your company this afternoon. Really appreciating it. I appreciate it is a very, very busy weekend for everybody. But the weather is so rubbish. If I were you, I'd really stay on your sofa with a mince pie, possibly some mulled wine, or at least a decent cup of tea, and watch GB News, because it's going to be fun. Unlike the weather, because festive travel plans are going to be blown off course, so it's wet, windy and wild. So millions of us up and down the country this weekend are going to struggle. Yellow warnings for wind cover much of the UK, with gusts of up to 80 mile an hour forecast for Scotland and northern coastal areas. The Met Office says road, rail and ferry disruption is likely as millions hit the roads, with the AA predicting today we'll see a whopping 23 million drivers driving home for Christmas. So there's a seamless link to a song there. And you can get us on the radio, by the way. We're on the radio. Take us with you. Joining me now is a travel editor at The Sun, Lisa Minnow. Lisa, good to see you. And Merry Christmas to you. Are you travelling or are you battening down the hatches, which sounds sensible?
I'm battening down the hatches and staying at home.
So what is it? The forecast is dreadful. Is it going to be worth trying to get away anywhere?
Well, I mean, I think people will always make the effort. I think what people are going to have to do is make sure that they're planning as much as they possibly can, make sure that they're leaving enough time to get to where they want to go. And if you're trying to take a train or even a road trip, make sure you plan that in advance. We've got lots of engineering works across the holiday season, but a lot of them have started today. So the likes of Thameslink, there's no trains for 9 days now from London St Pancras up to Luton. Now that could impact people trying to get to the airport. So there's extra buses put on, but it's going to involve a little bit of planning. So really it's just prepare for whatever the journey is going to get for you.
OK, and flying abroad at this time of year always sounds very tempting, especially given the weather scenes we're looking at there. Are flights going to be affected? Will people be able to get away?
I think flights could possibly be affected in the north of England today because we have seen these very strong gusts of wind. So flights maybe in Scotland and northern England could be affected. Actually, today is going to be the busiest day of the holiday season for the annual getaway from Gatwick, Manchester, Stansted and Birmingham. So this is the busiest day. The most number of people going to be travelling. 6 million of us are actually going to be heading abroad this year on some form of trips. So, I mean, it's definitely, if you're going to an airport, make sure you're checking in advance that your flight is on time, everything's okay, and make sure you've checked out how you're going to get there.
And Lisa, do you say 6 million getting away this year? Is that going up at the moment? Are more and more people heading away for the festive break?
It is actually. It's 5% more than last year and 5% more than the sort of pre-pandemic era. So definitely more of us are choosing to get away. Popular destinations include Amsterdam, Dublin, Tenerife, of course, and Paris, but all places that people are choosing to just really have a little bit of festive cheer somewhere else rather than here at home.
Yeah, indeed. Lisa, thank you very much. That's Lisa Minnow, travel editor at The Sun. Thank you very much for joining us, and a Merry Christmas to you and yours. Safe travelling. OK, I still have Claire. Just about still have Claire with me. She's pushing her luck, it does have to be said. And Matthew, who gave me a Christmas card. Matthew, are you going to be braving travelling anywhere this year, or...?
No, this is the first year I'm not going to bother. I am doing something more worthwhile. I'm helping the homeless tomorrow. Monday, Tuesday and Christmas Day, but also appearing on GB News Christmas Day, which may make people groan or cheer, you know, depending on their...
No, that's a wonderful thing to do. Where are you doing this?
Monday we're going to be over at a hotel in Hyde Park working with Crisis, who do great work this time of year. And on Tuesday, I'm going to be helping Lem Sissay, the poet from Manchester, who runs something called the Big Christmas Dinner, which is a Christmas dinner for those who have left care recently and give them a bit more of a normal feeling Christmas, and sort of being surrounded by people where they feel safe and whatnot. So,
and have you done that before, or is it a first?
No, it's something I've always wanted to do, having been homeless in the past. But I always, at Christmas, I can't normally be bothered with it. You can call me a Grinch or whatever, but I think it's nice for the kids. I've got 2 young nephews. It's nice to see them open their presents, but this year just seems seem too much. And I do wonder if we are the only country that get like this for travelling home and whatever. I don't seem to hear it from any other country, but everybody is crazy and the infrastructure isn't there and whatever else. But going away abroad would seem quite tempting this time of year. Come through the blowy wind this morning.
When you mentioned you have been homeless in the past, which you've spoken about quite extensively, were you ever on the streets that Christmas yourself?
Yeah, one Christmas, yeah. It was 12 months I was on the streets, and people are very generous, don't get me wrong. People in Manchester are certainly very, very generous. But it's just totally lonely. And the only thing that I have a bugbear about, without bringing it down, is everybody seems to focus on it at Christmas time, and we forget about the conversation all year round, and people are homeless all year round. And the charities are obviously buzzing, they get all the money through, and it's a great time of year for them, and the same for people on the streets. But ultimately, when it's January and everyone's penny pinching, not got a lot of money, it's even worse off if you're on the street. So I hope this year will be the one year we hopefully continue the conversation going, and continue to try and help end homelessness, really.
Yeah, brilliant, what a great message. Thank you very much. Claire, are you staying at home, or...?
I am, and I've got someone coming down from one of my daughters coming from Leeds on the train today. I had Tom back down from Newcastle last week. Caitlin's coming in from Belfast on Monday. And Steph isn't supposed to be here, but she surprised us all by coming back from Australia. And then we're all off on the 31st after the breakfast show. I'm travelling to Heathrow and we're going off to New York for 5 days.
Lovely.
That sounds amazing. Thank you very much. OK, well...
And it's my birthday when I'm away.
Not quite the same level of birthday as I've just had, but...
It's not a competition.
Believe me, at my age, it actually is. OK, we're moving on. I'm Dawn Neeson. Yeah, the old Dawn Neeson. This is GB News, and there's loads more coming up on today's show. At least 500,000 people in the UK are now being prescribed revolutionary anti-obesity drugs. Have you asked Santa for your Ozempic this year, though? Before that, let's get the news with Sam Francis.
Dawn, thank you very much. It's just after 1:30. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has promised a full investigation after a car drove into crowds at a Christmas market in the German city of Magdeburg, killing at least 5 people, including a child. More than 200 people are also left injured, many of them seriously, after a driver drove that SUV into crowds in the eastern city of Germany. Well, these are the live pictures from the scene where people and emergency services have, in the last few hours, been laying flowers in remembrance of those who lost their lives in Friday night's attack. A memorial service is also set to take place later this afternoon. The suspect, we now know, is a 50-year-old from Saudi Arabia. He was granted asylum in Germany a number of years ago. He holds, though, Islamophobic views, according to Germany's Interior Minister. However, at this stage, the motive behind the attack is still unclear. The tragedy comes 8 years after a similar attack in Berlin, where 13 people were killed. Here at home, time is running out for pensioners to claim pension credit and secure their winter fuel payment for 2024-25, with the deadline just hours away. Online applications close at 11:59 tonight, and phone lines will be open for a few more hours for last-minute calls. Around 760,000 pensioners could miss out, with the benefit topping up weekly incomes and unlocking extra support. The change, announced by Chancellor Rachel Reeves, means that winter fuel payments now go to only those on means-tested benefits, slashing the number of recipients from more than 11 million pensioners to just 1.5 million. Scrap staff parking charges. That's the call today from unions, as new research has revealed 1 in 4 NHS trusts in England have raised their fees for patients, staff or both in the last 2 years. Patients' charities say the changes and charges unfairly penalise unwell people, while NHS leaders argue financial pressures leave trusts with little choice but to charge. The rises, often targeting city centre hospitals, have seen higher earners pay more, while NHS staff collectively spent over £70 million on parking last year alone. Unions say health workers are on their knees and need support, not extra costs, as they face the strain of chronic understaffing and the fallout from the pandemic. The Prince and Princess of Wales are funding a new programme to tackle mental health challenges in rural communities in Norfolk. Partnering with Norfolk and Waveney Mind, the 2-year pilot scheme will provide counselling and targeted support for 1,500 residents around the Sandringham estate. Set to launch next year, the initiative will include training for local employers to address issues like rural isolation and farming-related pressures. It's hoped the project could become a blueprint for mental health support on other rural estates across the UK. And cash tops the list of Christmas gifts for young adults, according to a new survey. Nearly half of 16 to 24-year-olds prefer cash, with 40% saying they're happy to receive a voucher and 36% open to a bank transfer. A third would even like a direct payment into their savings account, while a fifth would still welcome a cheque. But across all age groups, gift cards and vouchers are still the most popular choice for financial gifts. And as Christmas falls midweek this year, experts say cash machines will be even busier, with customers set to withdraw around £1.5 billion in just 1 week. And that's just Dawn Neeson hacking her account. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, I'll be back with you very shortly.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast on the Met Office. Well, for the rest of the day, it's going to be a pretty windy picture, especially across the west. Rain will clear this south, and really most of us seeing a mixture of some showers and some sunshine. The reason for the unsettled weather is this area of low pressure, which is going to really dominate proceedings over the course of the weekend. The wind really strong across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England during the course of today. So it may well hamper some travelling conditions here. Warnings are enforced right throughout the weekend. A mixture of sunshine and showers across many parts, but the rain just clinging on across the far south. But here we may well just see temperatures hang into double figures, but for most of us it's going to be a fairly cold afternoon. So as we move into the evening hours, the showers continue to pile in across the north. Some of these showers will turn increasingly wintry, especially across the high ground of Scotland. So combined with the wind, that again could hamper some travelling conditions if you are travelling overnight tonight. Also a few wintry showers developing across Northern Ireland and Northern England, where further south, any showers generally of rain, with that main rain band just beginning to clear across the very far south of England. So throughout the night, the main focus of the showers will be across the northern half of the UK, a few showers further south, but for all of us it's going to be a blustery one. Wind warnings extending further south as we go into Sunday. And generally it's going to be a cold feeling start to the day. Temperatures generally above freezing, but I think we could just see a few icy patches across the northern half of the country. And really, for most of us, Sunday is going to be a day to wrap up warmly. That wind really going to make temperatures really struggle through the course of the day. Further showers, especially across the northern half of the country. Again, risk of some sleet and snow in places. Best of the sunshine across the south, but even here, despite the sunshine, it's going to be feeling pretty cold.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello and welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you for your company on this festive Saturday afternoon. Now, I hope you're not got a mince pie in front of you. You might want to just push it away slightly, because at least 500,000 people in the UK are now being prescribed revolutionary anti-obesity drugs, which have only been available for a year. Currently, 95% of patients are buying the drugs themselves online, but with various safety concerns being raised, I'm asking, should you be asking Santa for Ozempic this year or simply just eating less, moving a bit more? You know, the New Year's resolution we all make for ourselves. Joining me now is GB News Science and Health Editor Lucy Johnston. Lucy, good to see you. Thank you for joining me. This doesn't sound that healthy. So many people on the anti-obesity drugs without any prescription or medical guidance. 500,000 people buying them online.
We do have an obesity problem in the country, as we know. It's costing the NHS about £6.5 billion a year, and about 2/3 of adults are obese. There are many people who are now getting these drugs from online pharmacies, so they do actually have a prescription. The problem is, it's a bit of a wild west out there, and some pharmacies do proper checks, but many others are not. And you can get these drugs, and indeed other drugs like powerful painkillers, quite easily by just lying. You can get them by not giving your proper weight. And there have been reports from doctors that I know in A&E who are seeing even people who are not overweight ending up in A&E with serious life-threatening problems. And there are side effects to all drugs, including this. It hasn't been around that long, and those side effects can be really serious, including bowel obstruction, thyroid cancer, vision problems. So these are not without risks. Of course, if your doctor prescribes them and you see your GP and he works out that the benefits and the risks are worth taking the drug, then that's good. But this is a real problem, and I think these pharmacies, we need to look at them and see how we can better put in checks and balances to stop the misuse of these drugs, which is happening.
This is a Times report today. It's the front page of the Times, and the Times found 53 online pharmacies in the UK selling these medications, which usually cost between £150 and £200 a month. But you don't actually need a prescription to get them. You can just, as you say, fill in a form and lie, and they ask you to send a picture of yourself. I know because I've done this for a family member who is type 2 diabetic, couldn't get it on the NHS because there was a waiting list, so we brought it online privately. All they asked was for a weight and a picture of somebody, which is so easy to do. And as you say, the side effects of this, Lucy, aren't good. Surely it's time just to make sure now that everybody that gets these drugs does have to have a prescription.
Well, I'm not sure exactly whether they're not getting. I think they may get some kind of doctor. I mean, even if you get a prescription online, you can still lie because you just. So as you say, we need to have different checks. We need to have a doctor to see you, to do follow-ups. And this is why the NHS is not able to roll it out as quickly as it might have wanted, because actually it's complicated. Actually, you need to have these drugs with lifestyle changes, with exercise. And there is no long-term data post 2 years, or the drug regulator says that it doesn't know whether the benefits and risks are worth taking it after 2 years, because of course, the side effects then become more of an issue. So I think it is a serious problem, not just for this drug, but for other drugs. I think the enthusiasm for this drug is sort of, not in keeping with the evidence for it. And part of this is down to the fact that there's a lot of social media influencers. Yes, we've had the Kardashians, we've had the Oprah Winfrey, Elon Musk, lots of these high-profile people promoting it or touting it as a great thing. And I think that this is a new problem for our society, where we used to go to the doctor for health information. Now we're looking online, and we really need to think about that, and to think about putting checks in to make sure people aren't getting taking the wrong drugs for the, where they're more at risk than any benefits. Yeah.
OK, Lucy, thank you very much. That's our News, Science and Health Editor, Lucy Johnston there. Thank you very much, Lucy. OK, well, it is a frightening headline. 500,000 Britons buying weight loss drugs online to beat the slow NHS rollout. We do know we have an obesity problem in this country. More than 1 in 4 of us are indeed obese, and it costs the economy an estimated £98 billion every year. But, Claire, this is dangerous, isn't it? Just going online. I've done it myself, £200 a month.
But not for you.
Not for me. No. But there are people who are using it because not for... I mean, I was doing it for January for someone who's type 2 diabetic.
Yeah.
Couldn't get it on the NHS. But there are people on there who are lying and just getting it because they want to be bikini body ready, mate.
Well, it's just... And also there is an element of jumping on the bandwagon about something like this. And it's so... I mean, it's so pharma-driven... It's ridiculous. And I say pharma, not farmer. And everyone... Ozempic is for weight loss. No, Ozempic was for type 2 diabetes and Wegovy was for weight loss, right? I think that the obesity crisis in this country has got nothing to do with getting people to get a jab, because I think that's very dangerous. And the communication in it is very dangerous. That's why we have headlines in the Times today to say that people are pushed so far that they have the appetite, no pun intended, for the jabs, and they are actually getting them online. And that's where the difficulty arises, because, again, it's the NHS that has to pick up the results of people getting fake drugs or drugs that are the wrong prescription or the wrong amounts, and they're administering them wrongly themselves. It's so crucial.
Yes, I mean, the problem is, as always, the NHS so far limited its distribution to 35,000 people at specialist clinics and revealed plans to offer the drugs via GP surgeries next year.
But the testing's not even done on what the results will be on the body.
And many people, obviously, are feeling like they want that help now. Many people because they are obese, but many people because they have mental health problems with their body weight.
Yeah, and I think Claire made the point that Ozempic was made for people with type 2 diabetes.
Yes.
My brother is on not Ozempic but a similar one who is type 2 diabetic. He's overweight, struggles with his own mental health, he's autistic, and that made the idea of him having type 2 diabetes as a teenager sort of hard to process. And for him, it's been great. He's lost 2 stone, he feels more active, he feels better about himself, more confident, he's coming out of his shell more. But the one thing I've noticed is this isn't just a quick fix.
No.
So he's lost the weight, he feels better about it, but the mindset is still the same. So we were out for dinner a couple of weeks ago, and he's ordering as much as what he would have ate before he was on this sort of drug and his stomach had shrank and he couldn't eat as much. And he finds himself going, I can't eat all this, I feel sick. So I think there has to be a joint thing, regardless whether it's NHS or otherwise, to do the physical aspects of getting the weight off you to make you feel better and potentially health benefits, but working with people, GPs and others, to get you to that point mentally where you don't need to be eating that much because of how you feel.
You're understanding the underlying reasons as to why you maybe are eating too much. We are running out of time on that one, but let me know what you think about that. gbnews.com/your say, especially at this time of year when we are all, let's be honest, eating rather more than we should be, possibly. Now, if you are in search of some winter sun, though, to get that bikini body out there, here is a forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations for you.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Storm Dino so clears, but it remains often cloudy and sometimes windy around coastal areas, particularly for the Canary Islands and Madeira. A fairly strong northwesterly flow dragging in some cloud and some outbreaks of rain at times. Fairly settled across Portugal and Spain, but as we move further east, cloudy with some showers at times, particularly for Rome and at times parts of Greece. But it generally looks like it's improving by the time we reach the middle of the week, with the best of the temperatures across Madeira.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Oh, there's some lovely places on that map. I quite fancy that bit without any of the blue stuff all over it. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News, and so many of you have been getting in touch throughout the show, and I'll be getting to all your messages after this, so you don't want to go anywhere. We'll see you very soon.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
our next guest has a rather unique career story. She was working at a pub aged 18 and Holly Farmer was spotted by a modelling scout and it turned out to be her lucky day.
Scott Yoz Clark sent this message to Holly.
Holly, 18, 5'10", she does not belong in a pub. And I absolutely love that, Holly, because it's a bit like Dirty Dancing, where it's like, you can't put baby in the corner. Holly does not belong in a pub. You belong on the catwalk. What was that moment like for you when you were scouted by Yoz?
It was crazy. I have to say I wasn't expecting it, to be honest. Like, I was just on my lunch break. I was working at a pub, so... yeah, I was on my lunch break walking, going to Primark and...
You're going to Primark?
Got stopped by yours.
And how did that interaction go?
Well, first question was, how tall are you? So, 5'10".
Very much that.
Yeah, then he gave me his card and asked, like, explained everything, that he's a model scout, obviously.
Yeah, because generally when I scout, especially when I get close to that person, I tend to look in their eyes, and when you see something there, it's like everything works on the face and then the eyes gives you away.
Well, you've spotted a gem in Holly. I mean, you can tell even when you walked in, you are built to be a model.
I did my first fashion week here in London and then went to Paris and it was really fun.
Wow.
Now it's my full-time job. It's a bit crazy, to be honest, to be able to say that modelling is my full-time job now. Some brands will ask you to be a bit more serious and then others not
So it depends on the client's request as well. Ellie, give us your best model face. Ready? 3. I wonder if we can come back. 3, 2, 1. Very nice.
High fashion.
Yeah.
But you guys do all, like, contorted moves, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, all this high fashion. Do yours?
I'm just permanently living in model
You actually
model
are,
world.
though. He actually
this
does.
is it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello and welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson, on this festive Saturday. Thank you for your company. Now, loads of you have been getting in touch. Really easy to do to gbnews.com/your-say. The one that's caught my attention, earlier in the show we were talking about Sue Gray heading to the Lords as a peer, basically. Starmer, who 2 years ago wanted to close down the House of Lords, has now decided it's very useful for him to get things through. There are 800 members in our House of Lords. It's the largest second chamber in the entire world. But this message caught my eyes from Mickey. Good afternoon, Mickey. Mickey, you say, did you say £80,000 a year? This is what they can claim, right? £361 a day, tax-free, which works out just less than £800,000 a year, £80,000 a year, rather. What is going on? This is just corruption of the very highest. This is a national scandal and we need a referendum. So we, the people, decide if this is a good waste of our money. I say it's outrageous. Not one of them is worth it. I'm totally sick of this theft by these sleepy, mainly old like myself, being handed out our cash. And your point, Mick, was Mickey, was that fact a peer gets £361 a day, tax-free, a day, by the way. Meanwhile, we see fit to take £300 a year off of our pensioners in that winter fuel allowance. Someone make that make sense for me, because that just doesn't compute in my world. OK, running out of time, unfortunately, I just want to say thank you, a huge thank you to Matthew Torbett and Claire Broadcaster. Lots of love in the room for both of you, not least from me. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's show, so please don't go anywhere. But, yes, we have to talk about the weather, because it's a bit grim, so you may as well stay where you are and watch the rest of the show. See you soon.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, looking ahead towards the Christmas week, it is set to turn much milder across the country. But before we get there, we have plenty of wind and cold weather out there for the rest of the weekend. That's all courtesy of this area low pressure, dragging in some very cold air from the north, and also note the isobars indicating some very windy weather too. So as we see at Saturday, plenty of showers around, especially across the northern half of the UK. Some of these showers will turn increasingly to sleet and snow, mainly across the high ground, but that may well lead to some icy stretches as we go through the course of the night. Also, wind warnings in force across many western and northern areas. So if you do have travel plans over the course of the weekend, do allow some extra time for your journeys. So as we start Sunday morning off, we will see some sunshine around, especially across East Anglia and the southeast of England. But further west, showers from the word go, and a very similar story across the north too. But here we will continue to see the risk of some sleet and snow, especially for the high ground of Scotland, where the winds will also remain very strong. Risk of gales, potentially severe gales, as we start Sunday morning in places. And really, for most of us, it is going to be a blustery day. And that wind really is going to make it feel bitterly cold right across the country. Best of any brightness really will be across the east, with the most frequent and heaviest showers continuing across Scotland, where again they will be of a wintry nature. So temperatures a little bit academic. These what we'll see on the thermometer, but factor in the strength of the wind, as I mentioned, it is going to be feeling much colder than this. Into the evening, very little changes across the north, still further sleet and snow showers around, but across the south a little bit quieter, with more in the way of dry and clearer weather developing. And then as we head towards the Christmas period, it does look like it's going to turn much milder, so the chances of snow at this stage very low.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Recruiters are warning that if you're not tech savvy, you could be missing out with your CV failing to make it through an AI-powered sifting process. So we've gone from sort of computer says no HR people ticking boxes to AI, right? Is that right?
Yes, well, this applies once you're in the job as well, as a recent report revealed that employees expect AI will manage an average of a third of their tasks within the next 12 months. Well, joining us now to discuss this is Cosmo Curry, founder of Van Kaizen, a leading company in technology recruitment.
Morning, Cosmo.
Morning.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Van.
Well, yeah,
Hi.
thank you for joining us. It's very interesting, isn't it? Because AI is, of course, on the rise, and now in the workplace and in universities and things. Another article came to mind. There was a student recently, I think it was in the news just the other day, that got in trouble for using AI. So there's, you know, for exam purposes and essays. So there's lots of different ways that it can be a good thing and a bad thing. But you're, of course, here to talk about the ways in which AI is a good thing within the workplace.
Absolutely. I mean, AI is here to stay, for sure. And we're seeing this rise of people using it in such a clever format. The other side of it is also we're seeing people who are using it, and during the process of that, they are losing their character. We're losing the actual insight into the individual behind that. And so we've kind of got this kind of mix. And I think AI is phenomenal when you're looking at it from a point of view of optimization, point of view of speed, getting results. But I think we have to remember that the fundamental of recruitment is people. And we cannot substitute the people, the personal aspect, by replacing that with AI.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, it's 2 o'clock on Saturday, the 21st of December. Yes, I know, I'm not ready either, but at some point we will all get there. This is the weekend on GB News. Thank you so much for joining me on this very busy, festive Saturday. We have to talk about the breaking story overnight. It's now been confirmed that 5 people, including a child, have died after a car drove into crowds at a German Christmas market. City officials say over 200 people were injured, and the suspect, a 50-year-old Saudi Arabian doctor, is believed to have acted alone. I'll be joined by a member of the state parliament in the affected region to find out what effect it has had on the people in that area. Meanwhile, a grey area indeed for Sir Keir Starmer as he appoints 30 new Labour peerages in an attempt to rebalance, his words, the House of Lords. It comes despite his pledge upon becoming Labour leader to, abolish the House in favour of a newly elected second chamber. We'll have all the reaction to that story as well. And today is set to be the busiest shopping day of the year as shoppers take to the high streets for last-minute Christmas bargains. I may be amongst them. Have you? Yeah, are you ready? I know, I'm not. So we'll be discussing that as well. And Fairy Tale of New York, Jingle Bell Rock, Last Christmas. What do these hits have in common? Apart from being iconic festive songs, they were all released at least 30 years ago. I'm asking, what happened to the prestigious Christmas #1 race? Has it been destroyed by streaming? I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is The Weekend. So yes, indeed, thank you very much for your company. I do appreciate it. I appreciate just how busy this weekend is for everybody. I am amongst you, by the way. I have not done anything, so I'm really grateful for your company. And the weather's rubbish outside, so you may as well just sit on the sofa, have a mulled wine and a mince pie and enjoy yourself, eh? It's what it's about, isn't it? Because this show is nothing without you and your views. So let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're discussing today, or anything you ever chat about. It's Christmas. Come on, we're all friends here. Very simple to get involved. Visit gbnews.com/your say and join the conversation. And I will read as many out as I possibly can. Great panel to see out the show. It's political commentator Alexandra Cairns and former special advisor Charlie Rowley, looking very, very suave, debonair. Bond producers, if you're looking for a new Bond, we have the person for you.
Thank you.
It's got a new beard, by the way. But before we get stuck into today's stories, let's get the news with the equally debonair and suave Sam Francis.
Dawn, thank you very much and good afternoon to you. It is exactly 3 minutes past 2. Well, let's start with the latest developments in Germany, where Chancellor Olaf Scholz has promised a full investigation after a car drove into crowds at a Christmas market in the east of the country, killing, we now know, at least 5 people, including, sadly, a child. More than 200 are also injured, many of them seriously, according to city officials. Well, the suspect, a 50-year-old Saudi doctor, has been arrested, but the motive behind the attack on Friday is still unclear. Here, Sir Keir Starmer has called the attack horrific and expressed solidarity with Germany, while Foreign Secretary David Lammy has offered support to his counterpart. The tragedy comes just 8 years after a similar attack in Berlin, where 13 people were killed. Well, our Home and Security editor Mark White has been looking into details behind the lone attacker believed to be behind that incident in Magdeburg.
He is a 50-year-old, originally from Saudi Arabia, who arrived in Germany in 2006 and claimed asylum, having fled Saudi Arabia, wanted by the Saudi authorities over allegations of rape and other criminal offences. However, the German authorities granted him refugee status in 2016 on human rights grounds.
Mark White there, our Home and Security Editor. Well, in other news, time is running out today for pensioners to claim pension credit and secure their winter fuel payments. With the deadline just hours away, online applications close a minute to midnight tonight, and phone lines will be open for around another hour. For last-minute calls, around 760,000 pensioners could miss out, with the benefit topping up weekly incomes and unlocking extra support. The change, of course, announced by the Chancellor in the budget, means that winter fuel payments now go only to those on means-tested benefits, slashing recipients from almost 11.5 million pensioners to now just 1.5 million. Scrap staff parking charges. That's the call today from unions, as new research has revealed 1 in 4 NHS trusts in England have raised fees for both patients and staff in the last 2 years. Patients' charities say the charges unfairly penalise unwell people, while NHS leaders argue financial pressures leave trusts with little choice but to charge. The rises, often targeting city centre hospitals, have seen higher earners pay more, while NHS staff collectively spent over £70 million on parking last year alone. Crowds across the Northern Hemisphere have been gathering today to get a sight this morning of the winter solstice, marking the shortest day and longest night of the year. In London, there's just under 8 hours of daylight today. Sunrise was at 4 minutes past 8 this morning. Sunset in less than 2 hours' time, 3:53 p.m. And even less sunlight today for people further north. The solstice signals the return of longer days and celebrated worldwide, from pagan Yule festivals to modern traditions inspired by ancient customs. Events at Stonehenge, though, are among the most iconic, drawing thousands to witness the so-called birth of the sun. Cash tops the list of Christmas gifts for young adults. A new survey has revealed nearly half of 16 to 24-year-olds prefer cash. 40% say they'd be happy to receive a voucher, and 36% say they're open to a bank transfer. A third would even like a direct payment into their savings account, while a fifth would still welcome a cheque. But across all age groups, gift cards and vouchers are still the most popular choice for financial gifts. And as Christmas is falling midweek this year, experts say cash machines will be even busier than ever, with customers set to withdraw around £1.5 billion in just 1 week. And wet, windy and wild, Christmas travel plans for millions could be blown off course this weekend. Yellow weather warnings for wind cover much of the UK, with gusts of up to 80 miles an hour forecast for Scotland and northern coastal areas. The Met Office says road, rail and ferry disruption is likely as millions hit the road. Friday next week is expected to be the busiest day for travel since records began in 2010. And showers could also bring snow and icy conditions to parts of Scotland, with strong winds making Sunday's journey exhausting, according to the RAC. Those are the latest headlines for now. Your next update from the newsroom in around half an hour. Now, though, it's over to Dawn.
Thank you very much, Sam. Now let's get straight into today's stories. And you've just heard Sam talking about, we are going straight to cover that story. It's a breaking story. It happened overnight, and I'm sorry, I appreciate it. It's a Saturday before Christmas, but it's an important story. We need to talk about it. 5 people have been killed and over 200 injured after that car drove into crowds at a German Christmas market last night. The suspected attacker arrested at the scene is believed to be a 50-year-old doctor from Saudi Arabia. Images and video circulating online are far too disturbing for me to show you this afternoon, but they do show a car being driven at high speed right into the Christmas market and the vehicle appearing not to slow down. Joining me now is member of the State Parliament in Saxony-Anhalt, Nicole Anger. Nicole, thank you very much for joining me, and thoughts from everybody here at GB News and all of our viewers to terrible, terrible news coming from your part of the world. How are you feeling out there at the moment? I mean, what effect is this having on the German people?
It's really difficult to describe how we feel. You have hardly words for the situation at the moment. So we are all shocked. We are really shocked here, and we try to stay together, try to be there for each other. We call each other. We are asking friends and family how they are, how they feel, if they are safe at home. So that's what we did last night, and that's what we are doing all day long now.
Oh, I think we might have lost you there. No, Nicole, sorry, you are still there, sorry. Now, was there any warning that this was going to happen at all? I mean, there was no... It was just literally... It happened at 7 o'clock when the market was full of families, and we've seen the pictures before this awful thing happened. And there's so many young families there just enjoying Christmas.
No, there was no warning before. It just happened suddenly. Everybody was surprised, badly surprised by the moment. And yeah, it has been Friday night, and it's the night before the weekend. So all the families and people have been to the market. That's what we do before Christmas. We go to the Christmas market and want to have some good time.
And Nicole, we understand that the market, understandably, has been closed down now for the festive period. Does this apply to the other Christmas markets in Germany that are so much part of your culture?
Yeah, the markets are part of our culture. Our one is closed until the end of the year, and the other market, as far as I know, get more security now.
And Nicole, is it emotionally at the moment? Obviously, you are in a state of shock, but is there much anger from people out there as well?
You can't describe it with anger at the moment. It's more grief and shock, and we try to think to realize what happened to us here in our place.
Indeed. Well, as I said, all we can do is send you our love and best wishes from England and the United Kingdom at the moment, and wish you the happiest Christmas that you can have given these circumstances. Thank you very much for joining us. That's Nicole Anger, who is a member of the State Parliament in Saxony-Anhalt, where this awful attack has taken place overnight. As I said earlier, I've got a great panel with me, political commentator Alexandra Cairns and former Special Advisor Charlie Rowley. I am going to come to you first on this, Charlie. I mean, you can't debate this. It is just horrible. There are so many questions. There's an awful lot of speculation online, by the way. It's not our job at the moment to go down that road. I mean, until we know exactly what happened. We know that a man was arrested from Saudi Arabia. We don't know what his reasons are. There's a lot of speculation online. But what do you make of that? This is not the first time either, is it? We keep having these now.
Exactly, and I think that's why the word grief that was used in that interview just now is the right one, because there'll be time for the investigations and for the emergency services to work out exactly what the motives were, exactly who this individual is. Could it have been prevented? Were there any warnings, as you rightly asked? But there'll be time for that. The time now for people of Germany and right across, Europe and across the world, they'll be watching this the weekend before Christmas, where families should be coming together, enjoying that brilliant festive period at a Christmas market, enjoying that Christmas and festive time, to have that ripped away from them. And, as news emerges, this isn't a small attack with 200 people injured and 5 already losing their lives, including 1 child. I mean, 200 is not an insignificant number, it goes without saying. So an awful time in the run-up to Christmas. But one of the questions I think that there will be is, as you alluded to, in terms of was this preventable, or did anybody have any kind of knowledge that this was going to happen? Because it happened potentially for different circumstances 8 years ago in 2016 in Berlin. There was a Berlin attack on a Christmas market. But I think the way in which Germany is set up, each individual state has its own sort of counter-terrorism forces, and therefore there is a question about the fragmentation between maybe one state to another or one region to the next. That's a question, obviously, for Germany and German officials in the long term. But at the moment, obviously, everybody has to stand with Germany and the people there, and our thoughts and prayers and love go to all those that are affected.
Yeah. I mean, it does sound a cliche, doesn't it, Alex, to say our thoughts and prayers are with those people. But we are, because we can all put ourselves in that scene. With your loved ones, the weekend before Christmas, you're walking around a Christmas market, you're even walking down your local high street with all the festive lights. We can all put ourselves in that situation. And this is it's just awful to even think about.
Yeah, I agree. And when I heard the news, I was actually at a Christmas market yesterday, with my friends in Kingston, where I live in South West London, and I was walking around thinking, gosh, the reality is, lots of people will be going to Christmas markets right around the world. I don't want to see a situation now, actually, that lots of Christmas markets will shut. I really do think that when these things happen, we don't want to see people feel scared, fearful for their life. You know, yes, it's smart to put some security measures in place. And, you know, with lots of these things, you know, there can be, you know, because in quite a lot of the markets in the United Kingdom, there are bollards that are put in place to ensure that in big...
We have armed police as well now.
Yeah. So, look, it's not ideal. You know, no one wants to go to a market and feel like there's lots of police and there's lots of kind of protective measures for them, but actually it's to keep them safe from... I should stress, a minority of individuals across all religions that are absolutely deranged and do ridiculous things, and we shouldn't let those people win. So I hope that most of the markets still go ahead.
Yeah, no, we understand, obviously, why the markets in Germany have been closed down, but terrorism works by terrorising us. That's how it works. So, you know, if you are going out over the next couple of days to celebrate Christmas, this is the only way we can do this. We don't get terrorised. We actually get out there and we live our lives. Thank you very much for that one, boys. Now we move on to Sue Gray, the civil servant who investigated Partygate. Remember her? And then went on to become Sir Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff. Well, she's been made a life peer as part of the Prime Minister's 30 new appointments as he attempts to swing the House of Lords his ways. More Tories than Labour at the moment. But this is what Sir Keir Starmer had to say about the House of Lords just 2 years ago.
Rebuild trust by reforming the centre of government, cleaning up sleaze, nourishing the relationship between central government and the devolved authorities, and replacing the unelected House of Lords with a new, smaller, democratically elected second chamber.
Right, or we just stuff more of our mates in there. So there's 800. This is the largest second chamber in the entire world. There's 800 of them. They can all claim 360 quid a day, tax-free, by the way. I'm sorry, I do get annoyed by this one. I'm going to actually come to you first. Well, actually, you know, Charlie, because you've been involved in politics, you've worked as an advisor. You know, we're taking pensioners' winter fuel duty of £300 a year away from them, right? People in the House of Lords, including Sue Gray now, can go in there and claim 361 quid a day, tax-free, nearly £80,000 a year, paid for, maybe by some of those pensioners.
Yes.
This doesn't sound right, does it? I mean, this has got to be wrong.
It totally. And as with everything it seems to be in the early stages of this government, the communication around it is just totally bizarre, to put it politely. So their argument, I think, would be that, you know, in terms of the House of Lords, there are less Labour members there than there are Conservatives. So they've got a massive majority in the House of Commons. In order to get their programmes through, they're going to have to beef up the numbers in the Lords, and that includes Lords reform. But are you honestly telling me that you're going to pack the chamber full of your own, you know, Labour mates only for them to vote, for them to be sacked, you know, just, you know, a couple of years' time, potentially, by having this new chamber? I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm actually of the view, personally, and I know I'm in a minority, but, you know, hear me out, the Lords actually works pretty well with appointments only. I don't want to necessarily see a democratically elected chamber because I think we have that in the Commons, and the Commons is the superior chamber and always will be and always should be. But there are clearly lots of people out there with great experience, business people, people that work in the medical professions, our teachers, our doctors, people that would never put themselves forward. And where politics is so volatile, and the abuse, you know, why, you know, good people necessarily want to go through that? So I think having a chamber where you can say, you know what, you've been a head teacher that's turned around the state school system, or you've improved however. You need to be part of our, you know, you need to be part of the process. You need to be part of our politics. But the only way to get that person in is by direct appointments. Now, with Sue Gray, for whatever her faults, and she's isolated herself, I'm afraid, by both parties, not least through the Partygate investigation, and obviously whatever's happened with her relationships within the Labour Party and no longer Sir Keir's Chief of Staff. She is actually a doer. You know, she has worked for both governments as an independent civil servant that actually drove things through, got things done. And it's a kind of, I know this sounds ridiculous maybe to most people, but Sue is kind of the person that you want in the Lords because she was a doer, she was a fixer, she got things done. She actually did what ministers, whatever the colour or stripe of the minister, she actually did what they wanted to do when you're countlessly faced with civil servants that do the complete opposite and don't listen to you at all.
And this is why she's been given this, because it's a reward for her dedication and a very long, successful career in the civil service. But however, she was sacked 3 months after entering Downing Street as Chief of Staff. There was lots of background politics going on, we know. Starmer has done this because he actually wants as many Labour in there. I mean, the Tories are 232 at the moment. With this new batch going in, there'll be 211 Labour. So it's evening the playing field out there. So I think that's what he's doing now, rather than getting rid of them, because you wouldn't vote to lose yourself £80,000 tax-free a year, would you?
Well, I actually disagree with Charlie. I actually think that's what they're going to do. They know to get their legislative agenda through, they're going to have to, look at putting more appointees in the Lords, because otherwise the Lords are just going to block lots of things that they do. And then in the short term, I hope that Starmer actually does get rid of the Lords, because I actually think a big portion of the country, the polling is quite clear on this, a big portion of the country don't like the Lords. And actually, I agree with you, on principle, there should be lots of people that are put there because actually they're specialists in their field. But actually, we don't see that. Quite often, lots of people are there because they are former advisors, not that there's anything wrong with being a former advisor, but...
I missed that call. It's only a matter of time. It's
pending. It's in the post, Charlie. But I do think, lots of people would accept that if you look at the Lords, I don't think there's lots of actual specialists there. There are some, but they're definitely the minority. A lot of political appointments, kind of promises to certain people in a period of time. You look at, Harriet Harman was put there. You look at, I think the Tories have appointed a few MPs that lost their seats recently. The Lib Dems have put in some people. The reality is, it's not a logical process where lots of people that are specialists in their field are put there. They are people that have been involved in politics, and I don't think they actually add a lot to the Lords, So hopefully at some point they'll scrap it. But scrapping is going to be very, very complicated. It's not going to happen straight away. So this isn't a situation of hypocrisy or double standards. Starmer, in the short term, has got to beef up the Lords, and then hopefully by, 3-4 years in, he'll look at changing it.
Is anyone seriously going to vote themselves out of expenses, £80,000 tax-free a year? No, they're not, are they?
Well, that's the issue. And, even Tony Blair, I think, tried to come in and wrestle with it and then sort of dropped it because it was too complicated and, caused too many issues and too many media headlines, actually negative media headlines by, other ministers or former ministers or people that were in the Lords having to then lose their jobs. So it's not going to be easy. This is a very bizarre way of going about Lords reform.
I haven't actually done the maths, though, but if there are 80 members and they are all claiming this £361 tax-free a day, how much is that costing us?
Hundreds,
I haven't done the maths, but I don't want to.
But actually, Dawn, it's interesting because some people think that the amount of MPs we have, they think that should be cut significantly, And actually, I know that the Welsh Senate are looking at actually putting more elected members in there. I think the public actually potentially want a situation where maybe we have less MPs and less Lords, and then eventually get rid of it. Because at the moment, a lot of money is spent, and I just don't think we're getting good quality kind of, value for money, I'd say.
There's lots of mates rates and relatives. Even. Indeed. What do you think, though? gbnews.com/your say. Do you agree with Sue Gray here? Do you agree with 800 of them getting that tax-free allowance while our pensioners are freezing for want of £300 a year? Let me know what you think. And for all the best analysis and opinion on that story, please do go to our website, which is at gbnews.com. I am Dawn Neeson, and this is GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's Sparkly Show. You can ensure you behave like the perfect guest this festive season, but how? Brussels sprouts, probably not a good idea. Well, not too many of them in any case, or too much eggnog. Don't go anywhere. We'll be revealing all very soon. See you soon.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Love a bit of baking and share some hot tips. We're delighted to be joined by our baking extraordinaire, Matty Edgell, who won Great British Bake Off last year. Woo! Welcome. Congratulations as well. I'm sure you're sick of being congratulated.
I know, it's a nice reminder.
No, you like all the glory.
Yeah.
What was it like winning the Great British Bake Off? And what's last year been like for you?
Winning it was I was not expecting to win. At any point until they said my name.
You're a very humble guy.
Surprise. No, I was
really
in touch with reality. I wasn't.
Was it quite a close race throughout then?
Yeah, I considered myself the underdog throughout. I think the first week I turned around after the showstopper and kind of saw how good everyone was, and then looked at mine and thought, how have I got here? And that kind of theme followed through.
But then that surely like an underdog.
Yeah, it did.
Actually, I'm going to get better throughout this.
Yeah, I think it made me kind of really tune into the feedback that they was giving me and trying to embed that throughout. So that's probably why.
Could you feel yourself improving as the series went on?
Definitely, and I think also, like, kind of simultaneously, my confidence improved at the same time, and then that, like, little bit of belief in myself probably helped out as well.
What was your strength? Biscuits, cake, bread?
I think cake's my strength.
Cake.
I think cake, typically, if you start baking, that's probably where you start, isn't it? So that was what I knew most.
How did you start baking?
I've been asked this so many times since...
You don't know.
I attribute it to my nan.
Oh,
but, yeah, I would say, I think most people probably attribute it to, like, a grandparent or something that they maybe done with, like, their parents when they was growing up. So that's... I'll give it to my nan.
Or the major lockdown baking boom.
Yeah, banana bread.
Everybody...
All over the place, don't it? It's good.
Yeah, it's really good. I love a banana bread, even now.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Right, do you fancy some festive fun? It's about time, isn't it? OK, how can you ensure you behave like the perfect guest this festive season? Christmas Day anxiety can leave many of us wondering what is the appropriate behaviour for the big day in special. And I'm guessing it's not face down in a tin of Quality Street in a slightly grey and saggy pair of pyjamas, but that's just me. How should you do it? What do you do? Do you play ball games? Do you gaze at the TV? GBNews, you definitely do. And how much food is too much food and how much booze is too much booze? Joining me now is etiquette expert Liz Brewer. Liz, looking resplendently festive this afternoon. Thank you for joining me. Now, my Christmas day, I have to admit, is probably not your ideal Christmas day. So just tell me how Christmas Day should play out.
Well, each to their own. It depends. You know, if you're with family,
yes.
And normally if you're all going to get together with family, you've got the older generation, you've got the younger generation, you've got your generation, and you've got to really adapt so that everybody is happy. We always get together as a family. So I join sisters, brother-in-laws, younger brother, my daughter, etc. And we actually do a carol service rather full of champagne or whatever the night before.
Right.
And then on Christmas morning, normally it's at about 8:30. This year's I'm doing GB News at 7:25.
That's the perfect etiquette for Christmas Day.
I could get in and out and be back for stockings. And then we all have our stockings, even the dog, and then we open one present at a time where we go round and we do the stockings. Then we have our panettone, my breakfast, and then usually there's some sort of annual thing. It could be, if we were in London, it might be swimming in the Serpentine. You know, what you have to do is with people, it's to do with making everybody not just feel comfortable, but feel happy. So don't have discussions including politics. I'd avoid money.
Money avoids me, to be honest.
Yeah, so just stick to, don't have an argument, especially if you're with your in-laws, just agree with everything.
Okay, what should you wear? What's the correct... It's not pyjamas.
No, you don't wear pyjamas. I mean, unless for stockings, then you can have yours...
Wear stockings? Charlie, you're...
No,
Well, thank you.
opening stockings, not wearing them. So you wear your Santa jumpers or whatever. And then during the day, yeah, I mean, I think it's it's an occasion. Remember the photographs. It's an occasion, and therefore you want to wear something Christmassy and put you in a good mood.
Right, OK.
And normally with Christmas, whether you call it lunch or dinner or whatever, it usually, by the time you've done the turkey, which takes forever, and you've got everything done, you won't be sitting down until about 4 p.m.
What's the correct time? Because I understand...
There isn't a correct time. The correct time is when you're ready.
Right, OK.
And when you're ready...
the King's speech? Shouldn't you have dinner before the King's speech?
No, you couldn't...
sit and watch it?
Lunch goes on, or dinner, Christmas dinner, as they call it, so long. It might be a good idea to have an interval and then watch the speech, because then you go on, you've got mince pies, you've got Christmas pudding, which needs to be flaming, then you've got crackers, then you've got the best part of crackers, the motto, which I love.
The King's speech, by the way, is on GB News, 3 o'clock. You don't want to miss that. But I'm guessing just, you know, ignoring your family and just gazing at TV all day...
You can do that any other day.
Right, okay.
You don't have to do that.
Okay.
The speech, yes.
Right.
I mean, it's tragic if all you're going to do is sit and watch a movie or whatever. I know there are great movies over Christmas, but you want to give time to the people you're with.
What about, OK, after... So you've had Christmas lunch, you've watched the King's speech. Do you play board games, she says?
I'm afraid, yes, definitely. I'm a great believer in charades, love charades, inappropriate charades especially. I remember once in Scotland having to do Funny by Gaslight.
Which Charlie is going to demonstrate.
It's never been forgotten to this day. It was a very grand castle, Duns Castle in Scotland, with very conservative people, and I couldn't believe the way they let their hair down. Anyway, that was Funny by Gaslight. But Monopoly, we allowed one game because it always ends in tears. I mean, it really does. I mean, even if you've been told how to win, it's still, you know, games. But I love games, I really do. And then by the time you've finished eating, well, you want to do a few games, or you want to walk or something, just to have a bit of exercise, a bit of fresh air.
Is OK for a bit of fresh air.
Then, when you've done all that and you're totally exhausted, you could bring out the tangerines or whatever, nuts, and you could just then sit and watch some wonderful movie.
Right, OK. And how do you... I mean, how much is it acceptable to drink? Asking for a friend.
Well, I'm presuming you're definitely not driving.
No, definitely not driving.
So, you know... by the time you've had the champagne before lunch, you've got wine, then you've got brandy on your Christmas pudding, then you might have something afterwards. And my mince pies have normally got something in them anyway. So, I mean, as long as you're still coherent, and as long as you're not making an exhibition of yourself, and as long as you're still being fun and not argumentative, you know, well, the sky's the limit.
OK, right, that sounds perfect. But is it necessary, again, just to set the dinner table properly? Do you have to have settings in the right place and the correct cutlery and glasses and not a plastic tray on your lap?
It's the one occasion when you can actually go to town.
Right.
You know, you can do that. And I know some people, maybe they haven't got it all. There's nothing wrong with mix and match. You know, if you've got people coming and you've got different sets of china or plates or glasses, then, you know, mix them up. But you want it to look festive. And you've got crackers, of course, and you put those by the plate. You've got a table napkin. You know, and it's a good idea to decide who's going to sit where, because then you can actually conduct the conversation and it'll flow better.
Place settings.
Yeah.
That has been brilliant. Thank you so much, Liz Brewer. Thank you very much for the perfect Christmas day. Now you know how to do it. And if you want to send in your suggestions about how you would act out Fanny by Gaslight, please do. We are all very curious to see what your charades version would be. Thank you very much, Liz. That's my idea. Now, I'm Dawn Neeson, this is GB News, and there's loads more coming up on today's show. We'll be asking a music producer just what happened to that Christmas #1. Remember it? When it used to be a real big thing. But let's get the news headlines first with the other big thing in the room at the moment, Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. It is 33 minutes past 2. The top story this lunchtime. Well, at least 5 people, including a child, have been killed after a car drove into crowds at a Christmas market in Magdeburg in Germany. The suspect, a 50-year-old Saudi doctor with reported Islamophobic views, has been arrested as Chancellor Olaf Scholz has promised a full investigation. European leaders, including Sir Keir Starmer, have expressed solidarity, calling the attack horrific. Flowers have also been laid at the scene ahead of a memorial service in the city's cathedral later this evening. Well, our Home and Security editor Mark White has been looking into the lone attacker believed to be behind Friday night's incident.
He is a 50-year-old, originally from Saudi Arabia, who arrived in Germany in 2006 and claimed asylum, having fled Saudi Arabia, wanted by the Saudi authorities over allegations of rape and other criminal offences. However, the German authorities granted him refugee status in 2016 on human rights grounds.
Well, the deadline for pensioners to claim pension credit and secure their winter fuel payments is fast approaching. Online applications close at just before midnight tonight. Phone lines, though, are still open for around another 45 minutes or so. Around 760,000 pensioners could miss out, with the benefit topping up weekly incomes and unlocking extra support. The change announced by Chancellor Rachel Reeves means that winter fuel payments now go only to those on means-tested benefits, slashing the number of recipients from almost 11.5 million to now just 1.5 million pensioners. The Prince and Princess of Wales are funding a new programme to tackle mental health challenges in rural communities in Norfolk. Partnering with Norfolk and Waveney Mind, the 2-year pilot scheme will provide counselling and targeted support for the 1,500 residents around the Sandringham estate. Set to launch in 2025, the initiative will include training for local employers to address issues like rural isolation and farming-related pressures. It's hoped the Royal Project could become a blueprint for mental health support on other rural estates across the UK. And today, dubbed Super Saturday, is set to take the crown as the busiest shopping day of 2024, with footfall in stores expected to rise compared to last year. As last-minute shoppers swarm the aisles, the shift from online to in-store shopping is expected to peak, marking a key moment in the festive shopping season. Retailers are gearing up for a £2.5 billion spending spree today, hoping to turn the tide and the holiday rush to boost their retail sales. But there's a twist, with more shoppers turning to discount brands. 36% of Christmas spending is expected to shift away from traditional retailers. Millennials are leading that charge, set to spend more than 40% of their festive budget at discount stores like Aldi, B&M and Lidl. That's it from me for this afternoon. Sophia Wensler will have a full roundup at the top of the hour, and Dawn will be back with you straight after this break.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast on the Met Office. Well, for the rest of the day, it's going to be a pretty windy picture, especially across the west. Rain will clear the south, and really most of us seeing a mixture of some showers and some sunshine. The reason for the unsettled weather is this area of low pressure, which is going to really dominate proceedings over the course of the weekend. The wind really strong across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England during the course of today. So it may well hamper some travelling conditions here. Warnings are enforced right throughout the weekend. A mixture of sunshine and showers across many parts, but the rain just clinging on across the far south. But here we may well just see temperatures hang into double figures, but for most of us it's going to be a fairly cold afternoon. So as we move into the evening hours, the showers continue to pile in across the north. Some of these showers will turn increasingly wintry, especially across the high ground of Scotland. So combined with the wind, that again could hamper some travelling conditions if you are travelling overnight tonight. Also a few wintry showers developing across Northern Ireland and Northern England, where further south, any showers generally of rain. with that main rain band just beginning to clear across the very far south of England. So throughout the night, the main focus of the showers will be across the northern half of the UK, a few showers further south, but for all of us it's going to be a blustery one. Wind warnings extending further south as we go into Sunday. And generally it's going to be a cold feeling start to the day. Temperatures generally above freezing, but I think we could just see a few icy patches across the northern half of the country. And really, for most of us, Sunday is going to be a day to wrap up warmly. That wind really going to make temperatures really struggle for the course of the day. Further showers, especially across the northern half of the country. Again, risk of some sleet and snow in places. Best of the sunshine across the south, but even here, despite the sunshine, it's going to be feeling pretty cold.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Hope you're having a wonderful festive Saturday afternoon out there. Now, there's loads more coming up on today's show. But before that, I'm joined by Nana Akua, who is going to tell us what's coming up on her show, which starts straight after this one. Nana.
Well, coming up, dissing the House of Lords is removing the hereditary peers, is now filling it with praise. Rid of this thing in the House of Lords. I don't know, I quite like it. I think it's a good idea. But are they being disingenuous, the Labour Party? And how has he done with his appointments? Then, a big medical breakthrough. The common cold sore, the herpes virus, could be one of the major... So we're more...
Oh, OK. Sorry, I think we've lost Nana there. I think there might be a little bit of an issue. But Nana's show starts at 3 o'clock. You don't want to miss it. It is going to be absolutely brilliant. It always is brilliant. And she looks gorgeous as well. OK, now, Fairy Tale of New York, All I Want for Christmas Is You, Jingle Bell Rock, Last Christmas. What do these hits have in common? Well, apart from being iconic festive songs, they were all released at least 30 years ago, as the aforementioned classic from Wham becomes the first ever song to reach the Christmas #1 slot for 2 years in a row. I'm asking, what happened to that prestigious Christmas #1? Remember Christmas Day, Christmas Top of the Pops? That's how you found out it was so exciting. What's going to be #1? It's all gone now, isn't it? So let me pose that question to music producer Nick Stewart. Nick, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. What's happened to our Christmas #1s?
Well, Dawn, yes, what has happened? Very nice of you to invite me on your show, by the way. What a sparkly top you've got on as well. Very attractive. Very festive. Well, the simple answer, Dawn, to this is that the charts, the method of determining quote unquote sales in the charts these days is really done by streaming. Streaming brings in algorithms. So if you're playing 4 or 5 Christmas songs and suddenly you stop or don't choose another, Spotify, Apple or any other of the major DSPs via an algorithm will choose what you hear next. And those songs that you hear unchosen by you actually count into the sale. So I would imagine that Last Christmas by Wham, which has been in the top 10 at Christmas every year since 2016, is benefiting very much from those algorithms. Now, in this week's top 10, there are only 4 songs that were released in 2024, the highest of them being a very talented singer-songwriter called Tom Grennan, who is at number 4. And as you pointed out, one song that's in there was released in 1954, Jingle Bell Rock. Brenda Lee's Rocking Around the Christmas Tree was in the very early 60s. And these songs have extraordinary staying power. And at the moment, anyway, to release a new song at Christmas in the way that the battle between Wizard and Slade in 1973 and Spice Girls and All Saints later on, and then a pure novelty record like Grandma by the St. Winifred's Choir, which was brought by virtually every child for their granny. Now, the interesting thing is you can't buy a stream. You can't go into a shop and say, will you please gift wrap me a stream? It doesn't happen. So the absence of something physical to give is a factor, and it's really all about the algorithms. Let me give you. I'll make a bold statement now. The best Christmas song that nobody has ever heard is When the Thames Froze by Smith and Burrows. And if everybody watching this program of yours went to one of the DSPs, looked up When the Thames Froze by Smith and Burrows, and you've got millions of watchers, that algorithm would kick in, and it could well be that Smith and Burrows' song, which is something of it's not quite in the same league as the Fairy Tale of New York, but it's very close, and it's a brilliant tune. You haven't heard of it, I suspect.
No, I haven't. We're just running out of time very, very quickly, Nick. What's your favourite ever Christmas number one or Christmas hit?
Fairy Tale of New York.
Mine too. Love that song. Music producer Nick Stewart, thank you very much indeed. OK, same question to you very, very quickly, gentlemen. Alex, favourite Christmas... Doesn't have to be a number one, because lots of them weren't, but favourite Christmas song?
Driving Home for Christmas, I think by Chris Rea.
Yeah,
is
Chris
it?
Rea.
So good, honestly, yeah. I love that.
He actually gave me a drive in his car.
Did he? Did he drive you home for Christmas then, Dawn?
Not quite home, but round the recording studio. Charlie?
I was going to say Driving Home for Christmas. It's a nice one.
Sorry, Charlie.
No. But I do like... The first album I was ever bought was Wham, because I liked Last Christmas.
Last Christmas, which is 40 years old this year, and is the only one that's ever made Christmas number one in 2 consecutive years. Well, Alexandra Cairns and Charlie Rowley, thank you so much for joining me on this festive Saturday. Really appreciate your company. Now, if you're in search of some winter sun, which these two are probably off to get now, here is the forecast for some of those top European holiday destinations for you.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Storm Dino so clears, but it remains often cloudy and sometimes windy around coastal areas, particularly for the Canary Islands and Madeira. A fairly strong northwesterly flow dragging in some cloud and some outbreaks of rain at times. Fairly settled across Portugal and Spain, but as we move further east, cloudy with some showers at times, particularly for Rome and at times parts of Greece. But it generally looks like it's improving by the time we reach the middle of the week, with the best of the temperatures across Madeira.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Some of those places look good, don't they? I'm Dawn Neeson, this is GB News. Don't go anywhere, though, because in just a moment it's time for the latest news in the world of showbiz with the lovely Steffi Tetchy. See you soon.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The BBC has been branded jaw-achingly stupid, not by me, by the way, over its decision to cast black and ethnic minority actors in the historical drama of Wolf Hall. Now, is this a forward-thinking idea or nonsense? Are we rewriting history? Henry, I mean, the Tudors were real-life people. They were pretty much white.
Well, some of these shows depart so much from historical context anyway that maybe it doesn't make any difference. But I think just generally we've got a problem in this country with portraying history in its correct sense. You can't change history. And I think it's about the motivation. If the motivation is to to make a political point, then I think it's wrong.
What I find
kind of tedious about people finding this instant jaw-droppingly stupid, Jesus was portrayed by somebody who's half Slovak and half Irish. Moses was portrayed in the Exodus by an Englishman. So, you know, same with Anne Boleyn, you know, was portrayed by Natalie Portman, who is Jewish. So if this is the one thing that's getting people angry, then there's something deeper within that rage, because I think Hollywood's been doing that, where people...
When you say something deeper, do you think there is a hidden racism and people are complaining about this?
Well, I think for some, maybe yes. I can't speak for everybody because you know, this news dropped today. I don't know why they are thinking that it's egregious, but there absolutely must be some underlying racism if this is the only one that you're upset about.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. Oh, no, you didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. I hope you're having a wonderful festive Saturday out there, and I've got a festive treat for you now. Looking gorgeous, looking like one of those lovely Christmas presents under a traditional tree. It's the wonderful Stephanie Tecci, who's going to bring us up to date.
Afternoon. I had to bring the tartan in today.
Yeah,
I really wanted to put it on.
Planet Showbiz, but it really is very festive.
Sparkles meets tartan.
We are the Christmas sisters. What's happening on Planet Showbiz? There's only one thing I'm looking forward to on Christmas Day, I have to admit it.
Oh, what are you looking forward to? EastEnders?
No.
Ooh.
No.
Ooh.
No. Gavin and Stacey, come on.
Oh, hey, I got it wrong. I so got it wrong. That was like a Showbiz fail. I'm really looking forward to EastEnders, actually. There's going to be explosive. That's all I've got to say. But yes, Gavin and Stacey, James Corden and Ruth Jones, they've been teasing us all week about this. You know, he was on Graham Norton last night and he got really emotional saying that, you know, actually filming that final scene for Gavin and Stacey was a tearjerker. Most of the journos I know have gone to watch it this week, so, but they've signed NDAs, so they can't tell me, but one let it slip that actually it should be a happy ending.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it will be a happy ending.
Last time? Was it?
So basically, Nessa proposed to Smithy, and we don't know if he said yes or not. The trailers come out and we see her working, pushing a rickshaw, and anything else is still up in the air. Oh. Yeah, but I think it is going to be a good one. I think it's going to be probably the most watched show on Christmas Day. That cliffhanger left 12 million people wondering what the answer is.
That is very good ratings these days.
It is. Actually, it was the most in a decade for a non-sporting event. And I think it's because we have very few British sitcoms, and especially on Christmas Day, you know you are going to get the creme de la creme of plots.
Yeah, no, I can't wait. I really can't wait. That's on late at night, though,
yeah,
isn't it?
It's going to be at 9 p.m, so hopefully people would have had all their Christmas dinner by then, and then we can see what this finale will be.
Stay off the eggnog, Lisa. OK, and what else is there?
Well, it's all about Christmas #1, actually, Dawn.
Yes.
Wham have done it again. Like 40 years later, they've actually broken records again. 2 years in a row of being #1, Christmas #1. And Andrew Ridley said that, you know, it would, like, George Michael would be delighted with this because, of course, when he was alive, it didn't get to #1. But, you know, we're talking about the Christmas song, and this is at the top of it, especially for Britain. I think we are a nation of lovers of Last Christmas.
Why is it so popular, do you think?
Because, Dawn, I think, like, most of the Christmas songs that that are coming out these days, they're missing the je ne sais quoi of the magical festive sound. And I think what's happening is when people look at all the music that came out in the 80s, it's all about nostalgia. And I think, you know, most of the Christmas hits that come out now, people easily forget about
40
them.
years. No other Christmas song has done that, been consecutive #1, 2 years in a row.
You know what, I hate to say this, I don't think no one ever will, to be honest, will be able to top that, because I think nowadays the way you measure chart success is quite different than it was back then.
Yeah. And anything else we should be looking out for?
Well, I think it's all about the soap Christmas storylines. I know it's about Gavin and Stacey, but I think a lot of soaps, including EastEnders, Linda, if anybody knows her, the character, it's going to be explosive.
Stephanie Tetchy, wonderful as always. Thank you very much for joining me. And thank you out there for joining us on this very busy festive Saturday. I've loved your company. Sorry I didn't have time to read as many of your messages out, but I am indeed back tomorrow lunchtime, so do get in touch. Up next is Nana, and then it's a Saturday 5. You can catch up on the show on the website, but first, let's have a look at the weather with Craig. See you tomorrow. Have a good evening.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, looking ahead towards the Christmas week, it is set to turn much milder across the country. But before we get there, we have plenty of wind and cold weather out there for the rest of the weekend. That's all courtesy of this area low pressure, dragging in some very cold air from the north, and also note the isobars indicating some very windy weather too. So as we see at Saturday, plenty of showers around, especially across the northern half of the UK. Some of these showers will turn increasingly to sleet and snow, mainly across the high ground, but that may well lead to some icy stretches as we go through the course of the night. Also, wind warnings in force across many western and northern areas. So if you do have travel plans over the course of the weekend, do allow some extra time for your journeys. So as we start Sunday morning off, we will see some sunshine around, especially across East Anglia and the southeast of England. But further west, showers from the word go, and a very similar story across the north too. But here we will continue to see the risk of some sleet and snow, especially for the high ground of Scotland, where the winds will also remain very strong. Risk of gales, potentially severe gales, as we start Sunday morning in places. And really, for most of us, it is going to be a blustery day. And that wind really is going to make it feel bitterly cold right across the country. Best of any brightness really will be across the east, with the most frequent and heaviest showers continuing across Scotland, where again they will be of a wintry nature. So temperatures a little bit academic. These what we'll see on the thermometer, but factor in the strength of the wind, as I mentioned, it is going to be feeling much colder than this. Into the evening, very little changes across